Flip the switch.
I'll check, let me check with Kirby.
Well,
Okay, thanks, Kirby. Yes, good.
I'd like to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we open it with a prayer for the girls' hockey team that somehow or another didn't do it right today? Terrible. Did you watch the game?
I saw the worst part.
Okay.
Okay, we had draft minutes from January 9th. John had given me a couple corrections.
You did a great job on those minutes. I only have one small one,
Yep,
that the area C is spelled with the C,
Yeah, yes.
not an S-E.
Yeah, that was caught.
Yeah.
And the two substantial corrections I added was that Deputy Chief Matt King had mentioned that the secondary and accessory road off of Great Road on the Farmers Road subdivision should be eliminated due to congestion. And the other comment was also with Farmers Row subdivision that Attorney Doug DeShane agreed that we could have a site walk there to look at the area for the or three dwelling unit cul-de-sac, and I guess also the area he's gonna save for farmland.
Hey, Don, I've got a question for you.
Yep.
Did you actually say that Great Road was a scenic roadway?
Yeah, I think it
He
is.
stated that the road is designated as a scenic road for a reason. Great Road's not a scenic road.
it is designated a scenic road.
Yeah,
It's not in the scenic road list.
It-
Not the list that we were handed out.
I've seen it listed someplace as that. I didn't necessarily take it off the guidance form, but
Okay, let's see, it's chapter what, 143, I think is that chapter, I don't have it in front of me.
On the,
We have it.
on the second
You're
page,
on-
on the second page of this, Mary,
No, it's not in there.
Ew.
Yep,
it's not there.
not in there, okay.
no, that's a good comment, that should be
Okay.
there.
Did you say page 143? Two different animals?
Yeah.
Okay, so are there other comments on the minutes?
I recommend.
Make a motion
changes
to
that we
approve as
accept.
amended.
Okay, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. So it is moved.
It is so voted. Thank you.
Gilson Road is a scenic road.
The only updated mail that I had for you was, got a quick update from Chestnut Farms. The surveyors are behind schedule because of all the snow, so it'll be probably at least the middle of March before we see anything from them, if not later.
There's still a cease and desist on them and all kinds of stuff. Is that still in effect?
Yeah, on the clearing activity.
Can't clear anything more.
Not clearing anymore, no.
I don't think there's anything left to clear.
There's the bills and the payroll. Okay, the bills and payroll are coming around. The Housing Committee has been being reactivated and suggested that the planning board appoint a planning board member to the Housing Committee. And I didn't get any responses when,
Is there any volunteers for this? All right, so I need to appoint somebody?
Go.
And
the board
huh?
would,
I don't know. They would have
I
to-
appoint Mark Montanari.
Well, I think the person really has to be here.
Well, we had a vote earlier, but
that would affect him.
I'm having a little fun here. You want to go along with it or no?
Mary, it wasn't clear how many nights a week or a month that committee was gonna meet.
If I could on that, it will
Please.
probably be a very active committee, at least once a month, perhaps more, that we're just launching the update of the housing production plan. We've engaged the services of the ABC, our regional planning agency we're spending, it's a $20,000 update to the housing production plan. It will be complete by October. There will be a number of public forums, public meetings, and the housing committee will act as more of a steering committee to help guide housing consultants. So we'll actually have someone there tasked to do an awful lot of work. And I think that it would be safe to say at least one meeting a month over
You also
now in
have
October.
I'm kind of unclear exactly what will the committee actually do?
It will, the end product will be a housing production plan, which is adopted by the Board of Selectmen, submitted to the state Housing and Economic Development Department, so that we can have a certified housing production plan. Once again, we had one in 2005 that expired. And there's a formal process that you go through to update that plan. And it's a lot of heavy lifting. It's a lot of data analysis that the consultants do. It's a lot of needs analysis of what types of housing, does the population in town need? Where would be potential sites that affordable housing might be constructed, and to come up with a range of implementation strategies. So, and we would do that by engaging the public through, a number of public forums over the course of the.
So this is really in response to being able to defend against 40B,
That was gonna be my question.
because it's one of the requirements.
It's part of being a master of our 40B estimate.
That's what I was gonna ask.
We can't simply rely on the 15 Great Road project is always keeping us above 40B, that it will require some proactive steps on the town's part to identify what are the housing needs that need to be addressed, and how are we going to do that. And for that, we really need to engage the community in the discussion. We have representatives from the Board of Selectmen on the committee, from the Housing Authority also, and we thought that it would be important to do the planning board as well as the zoning board of appeals.
So how long would it run?
And this-
When do you expect to complete the review for the recommendation?
By October.
By October.
So, yeah, the work would essentially be between now and October.
So is this a best practice or something that's required that often doesn't get done?
Oh.
Well, I'd have to say it's a best practice, because there are an awful lot of communities in the Commonwealth, and including a number of what I think are pretty well-run towns that don't have up-to-date housing production plans.
But it's the expectation that
I
you
can see
actually,
it's in our best interest to have one, because we want to make sure that we're staying above 40B,
It's,
above 10%.
when a town has something like this, is it possible to tell 40B to go away?
Well, it is, and the other thing that tells 40B to go away is to stay above 10%, but I
Yeah.
can't, we're, between now and 2010, I think, or certainly after 2020, I should say, we're getting very close to 10%, falling back below 10% as a result of the next census. So we should be using this decade to figure out what we want to do and to put some things in place. We've seen, there are lots of reasons why subsidized units that are on the inventory might fall off. Some of those we don't have any control over, and so we need to replace those units in order to stay where we are. So
I'm an absolute proponent for this, because years ago, this was proposed and was shut down. And if it had been in effect, we would have had more tools in our tool bag to up to date 40B running down Great Road.
I think the benefit we have now that we haven't had in the past is that we have the consultant, we have the contract with MAPC.
Essentially, we got a $10,000 grant from MAPC. The funding source, the so-called DLTA program that in the past we've tapped into to bring MAPC here to work with the planning board on the Littleton Common zoning and some other things, that we were able to tap that source to pay for half of what the cost is for the housing production plan.
That's terrific. Is, any takers for this position? Jerry?
You have a housing background, and the sewer committee's not meeting anymore. Would that be, the sewer committee doesn't seem to be meeting. Would it be
Correct,
something
yeah.
you would be interested in? I mean, you have a housing background,
If,
construction.
yeah, if there's no other interest, I'll join that committee.
So be it. Good.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you, Richard.
We need as-
We value the committee members' time, and we will tread lightly upon it, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Where are we now?
That's E, 500 King Street, package store comments. The selectmen are having a public hearing next week for a package store application for 500 King Street, that's Archer's Mobile. Included that in your packet to see if you had any comments back to the
Yeah.
selectmen.
I have two reactions. One, like all the Dunkin' Donuts things, if we allow one gas station to have it, we probably would have to allow all others. And if you look at the density of liquor stores in that area, it's like one every block. So like 4 liquor stores there. And then in Westford, you have one, so, you know, do you really need that many liquor stores? Yeah, regardless of the. Well, you think of it, you know, there some have liquor as an accessory purpose, such as Archer's is proposing it. We have 2 convenience stores that have it as an accessory. We have a new liquor store that just opened up that's just liquor. You know, what's it due to that person? I mean, he was there first.
What do you mean, what's it do to them?
Well, I mean, it certainly
Free
impacts his
enterprise?
business too. Well, I bet you want a liquor store in every corner, you know?
If they can all stay in business.
Well,
You know, it's only, one good spill is with 2 good drinkers. The more you spill, the more you sell.
so anyway, I have a question. I can understand more if it was on March, but.
It's,
Yeah, I mean, Archer's has been good and all that, but, yeah, this, regardless of who it is, what I'm saying is a large density there. So I question that.
Well, Jerry, any concerns?
For,
Or thoughts on Archer's having a liquor license?
how many liquor licenses do we have left?
There are 3 in this available in the category of package store beer and wine.
For sales.
So we've got.
There's only 2 left.
Well,
We have a total of 5, 2 have issued, and we have 3 available.
So if we issue another one, we have 2 left, right?
so the 2 presently you issued are, is the last 2 out of, isn't there 10 total in Littleton?
Well, we have, trying to recall, there are 4 different categories. There's package store, beer and wine, and all alcohol. The all alcohol ones are all out. We're at quota there. We have 3 out of the 5 available for the beer and wine. We have, I think we have 10 pouring licenses available, though.
That's right.
in the,
Still available?
Still available, of which we're understanding that the point will need about 5 of them, and we'll have 5 left over. So
What do you mean, we will need 5 of them?
that the point for the restaurants
Yeah,
that they're proposing to locate at,
so you suggest that we, if somebody else comes up with one, we'll still have 5 available,
that's correct.
aside from the 5 that the point's looking for?
Yeah, because we have an overabundance of unissued alcohol licenses, of what we're allowed
now
to
we're
have
left-
under the quota for.
Okay, now we're left with 3 that are just beer and wine. They're still.
Beer and wine package store.
Okay. And as far as the ones that Dawn, terrible with names.
Just switch them.
is suggesting, there's one just over the Westford line, there's the Common Convenience. The other one at the center of town,
Tedeschi's.
Tedeschi's. So there's 1, 2, 3, right on that edge. Then the next one is where? Where would the next one be that's, as opposed to downtown? The one over-
The one that, right across from Sherry's office, that's brand new.
Well, that's one of those are the three that are in Littleton
Yeah,
Center.
that's the replacement for the one that
1, 2,
used to be
3.
down in the Common, yeah.
There's a pouring one at the,
Chris Dolan's also.
so Donald's is gone. Donald's is the one that's across from Sherry's. place.
Dolan's actually has beer and wine itself.
All right, as far as liquor, and he's looking for beer and wine.
I mean, well, I guess the question is, do we want to provide comment? Do we want to vote to provide comment, and if so, we have to provide a comment?
I guess my comment is, yeah, it isn't our decision, and my comment is, look at where they're located, show on a map. I mean, look at density. Is that what you want?
And so your comment is, we got enough, you don't want any more. How about you?
Oh, no, I'm not
I have no
saying-
comment.
When you review it, you should review it due to the density. I'm not saying one way or another, I mean, at least be aware of that.
That's a double-edged sword, Don, because in some ways, it's better to have all those kinds of things in one area than to have them all spread out throughout the town.
And I'm not saying one way or another, I'm
Guys,
saying,
we have to.
Well, regardless, we're
Hey,
gonna,
this is-
you got a comment about you
This
like it or you don't like it?
This is not our purview to
Right.
begin with, but if it were, I would be in favor of it.
okay, I mean, we do this for the zoning for the medical marijuana, why not do something for?
I don't have a problem with him adding beer and wine to it, as far as, I have no other comment other than that. I don't have a problem against it. Okay, what's next?
Okay.
No, wait, we're out of order. You have to vote on whether or not we're gonna provide a comment, and if we say yes, what that comment will be.
Okay.
I'm just saying, that's what's on the docket.
Well, as far as the comment is concerned, no comment?
So we would
No,
vote.
What I've given as a comment is that you should look at a map, see where everything is, and make a decision.
Okay, well, that's Don's
Much the same
comment.
way we've done with.
Look at a
this.
map and ascertain what's close and what isn't.
Look at the
Gary?
density, does that make
Well,
sense?
if we vote to provide no comment,
Yeah.
then we don't have to provide
Sure.
comment.
Okay,
How many, I make a motion that we provide no comment. Second the
Fine,
motion.
fine with me.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye, we
Nay.
provide no comment.
Nay?
So you want.
3 ayes, no
I think
comment.
We beat you.
1.
Yeah.
Done. Next
We
one.
can extend a minority comment.
No. Just, what do they do is fine, as far as I'm
But
concerned.
it's their decision.
No, let's go to the next thing now. That one's
Okay.
done.
Similar question
Is that
about,
open and close? Is that, all
Done, we're done.
right.
okay, a similar question about the Neshoba Valley Extensive Recreation Special Permit. Selectmen will be holding a public hearing on that on March 10th, and send it around for comments.
We'll start from the far end. Any comments?
I'll go last.
No, you'll go first.
I'm thinking about it.
This is your chance. All right, he's done. Jerry?
I have no comment other than what we've already stated as a board during that process, so there's nothing new to add for me.
My guess is this will turn out the way the liquor store issue turned out. But if we did any comment, and if the selectmen decide there should be more land reserved due to the expansion of the tubing park, then I would think the thing to do is either looking for improving the scenic views by removing the development rights for the 3-house cul-de-sac, or do something for protecting the farmland. That fits into what we say is a strategy for what we're trying to do there.
Oh, then I'm definitely gonna comment.
I will go back to
We
you.
have to provide one comment.
Yeah? Okay,
Well,
his is,
I'll provide a
gonna be
minority
exactly
from
the
the
same.
minority.
go ahead.
I think the tubing, first of all, it's not our purview to talk about, to pass judgment, do anything with the tubing park, other than site review. And the only reason for a site review in the original permit would be if they expanded the operation, which they aren't doing, because they only have one left. So my comment would be that I pass this back to the selectmen in favor of them granting the special permit without any conditions.
Separate, there's more than one more than one lift now. There are
Right.
2 sets of lifts.
And more slides.
You know, it's a recreational use. I think that whatever it takes to encourage more recreational use is a good thing for the town.
It always showed 2 runs going up, and that's how they gauge how many people can use the hill by the amount of people that can get up the hill. They did not change, they only added more runs, as opposed to, it originally looked like 3 or 4, now they have 9. They didn't go any bigger as far as the land use, from what I could tell. They still have the same parking. They haven't done anything with that, so I actually don't see a problem with them approving whatever they want to do with any small.
But they
So if
have
we
expanded.
skied on those runs, do I have to recuse myself from voting on whether or not I want to provide a comment?
I skied there 50 years ago, honey, so I have.
So I think it's going to be a little more complex than, you know.
Well, and as far as sending something to the selectmen, I don't see a problem with what they've done, and I'd say approve whatever the skier is looking for to keep the thing running.
It's to approve whatever they haven't decided.
Well, whatever came through earlier, it looks as if they're trying to get something more out of them for either, as you were suggesting, more land, a better view. I think just let them run their business the way they are.
So we could vote to provide comments, and then each member who wanted to comment could,
Have that
tomorrow or the
entered in.
next day, provide comments to mayor, and then we could go from there,
But
right?
I think it might be easier just not providing comments.
Because
No.
we're only approving whether or not we're providing comments.
Yeah.
Well, if, now, on this one here, I think if you want to make a comment and want it part of the record, make the comment now, and leave it at that.
So we're all in
agree.
agreement, we're going to provide comments?
I agree, yeah.
I think, my comment is, right now, is I don't have a problem with the amount of runs they have, and leaving it the way they have it now. I don't have any problem with them increasing the runs down the hill.
Nor do I.
Up the hill, it's still the same 2 runs. They've done nothing different except for expand the number of runs going down the hill.
Right, but that's on the
That's my
site plan.
comment, that's, is part of record, if that be it now.
And
You have
I,
the same opinion? as
I
me?
do. I
Okay,
exactly the
there's two
same.
with the same
and-
opinion. Jerry?
Without condition.
I have no information on which to base the
Yeah.
opinion, so I haven't seen a map, I haven't seen what's being proposed, so I'm not going to comment.
Well,
You?
they have the drawings in
And
the
my
package.
comment is if it's decided that it's extended from what was provided in the original site plan, that if it's a matter of protecting land to go along with it, that it be done for protecting the scenic view.
What do you mean
or for
protecting land?
Well, one of which is the development rights of the houses that are right next to it. There's one cul-de-sac with 3 houses right on top of the tubing park. The eastward,
So what, you're trying to get the Fletchers to donate more land to
Jerry,
conservation or
Either
something?
that or-
In order them to continue their business, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying if it's an expansion, besides an expansion, and with expansion, it's suggested by the bylaw, or what's referring to as bylaw, that more land be protected, that land be protected for the scenic view, or that the farmland, they say they're gonna protect that, maybe by having APR, so it'd actually give them money.
Jerry, I
So you
mean,
want to hold them hostage to, in order to continue in business by either giving them, to donate money or donate land?
Holding them hostage is your terminology.
That's
not
right, that's my
mine.
terminology, that's what I
It's
use.
based upon what the bylaw is talking about. If it's expanded, you should have more land around it, not built up. That's what the bylaw is, because it says it should be like a golf course. No, that's exactly what it's based upon.
Don, I applaud your efforts to try to create more farmland and free open space for the public. However, this is a recreational element, and we want to promote recreation. We don't want to discourage recreation, and
This
what
isn't
you're proposing
discouraging.
would actually impede and inhibit anybody who wants to create recreation because you're causing them to give up something.
Well, that's how they
This-
got the
I-
permit in the beginning.
I believe this should move forward. I would motion that this moves forward, or our comment moves forward without any restrictions.
The issue here is there was a site plan review, and there was a permit given that they could build in one area like a golf course,
What's
a
the
lot,
next?
all other land is protected, not built upon. And the argument is that they've expanded. It's expanded, then it only makes sense that other lands.
But Don, we're not talking about
Yeah, we're falling behind, huh?
major operation here.
We're
We're
way
talking
behind.
about a couple of.
Okay, finish your statements up, we gotta move on, we're
We're
getting
not
behind.
approving this or disapproving, we're just commenting on it.
Exactly.
Okay, what do I need to do to stop this?
Use your
I have
gavel.
to
and
fail
move on.
comments.
All right, we're done with our comments?
Yep.
So noted? Those in
Well,
favor,
she
say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Personal
Aye.
comments, aye.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, Master Plan Steering Committee. It's been suggested that, let's see, we're bringing part of the capital plan to town meeting to fund master plan. Number hasn't been finalized yet. The one I saw first was $100,000.
Yeah, there's a placeholder for 100,000. The Board of Selectmen has not yet decided what's going to be on the warrant. I would observe, though, that there is a lot of support institutionally from members of the Board of Selectmen, from the community and others, to proceed with the master plan as the planning board has requested. The one suggestion that's been made, though, is that to help guide that planning process, that there be established a steering committee which would be comprised not only of you, but also with representatives of some of those other boards that would, whose bailiwick are reflected in the master plan, whether that be economic development, conservation, selectmen, finance, schools. So the proposal is that if such a steering committee were formed, even before you get the funding, that the steering committee could be doing work between now and town meeting on what the scope of the master plan update might look like. And that you could be addressing all of those issues and making some progress. And I think building a constituency for the plan update itself, because it will be a vote, a town meeting for, somewhere between $100,000 and $250,000 is what we're thinking. So,
I
yeah.
agree it should be wide representation. There's some confusion, though, from the memo and what I understand we're doing. It sounds like we have arrangement with MAPC. There's talk about additional firm. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to get resolved.
No, we don't, what we have is a cost proposal from MAPC. We don't have an arrangement with them for the master plan
Right,
update.
but the cost proposal is much less than what we see done commercially by other parties. So I'm a little confused about that. Some of them almost twice as much as that.
Yeah. Well, I would think that if we form the steering committee, we could have a discussion about what do you want to do about that? And the strong sense I'm getting is that what the steering committee could do is to develop a request for proposals, develop what the scope of the work would be, and you could put that out to bid and invite MAPC, or invite any qualified bidder to put in a proposal. MAPC bids competitively in other places. If there were unanimity that, we don't need to go hire a private consultant for $250,000, let's just hire MAPC for $130,000 or whatever the number is, then you can, and if that's the direction the group wanted to go, you could head directly in that direction and negotiate something with MAPC. I'm getting a strong signal, though, that there are lots of boards that would like the option of a private consultant to have an open process. The way you address that, though, I think, is in the steering committee, because there's two things that have to be decided. One is what's the scope, and then how much is that going to cost, and then whatever that dollar amount is, you got to go to town meeting and get it. And I think by the time that we're in front of the voters, asking for either 100,000 or 250 or whatever it might be, that there needs to be a strong group of support saying, this is, that here's what we're going to do with the master plan update, and here's the group that supports that effort, so.
So what do you need out of us right now?
So the idea of a steering committee is that if you
want
could
somebody to
get
get on
the
the steering
feedback, if you could get the feedback back to the selectmen
Are we
about how you
interested?
feel about having a master plan steering committee, then that would help guide future discussions on it.
It would
Yeah,
be,
and I think one of the questions for me is, you hadn't had this put in front of you yet, and do you think steering committee is a good idea? Could it be anywhere from all 5 of you to a few of you? Could be on the steering committee.
what's the implication of steering committee versus, say, advisory committee? I mean, yeah, I think the influence should be spread out, because it's the town's investment, there's no question about it. I guess we have some approval say of it, so, yeah, is there an issue of a steering
Well,
committee?
it's my understanding that the master plan, at least under the statute, the master plan is adopted by the planning board. What I see the steering committee is doing is helps guide the process by which the master plan is
Being enacted.
is arrived at, but then it's still subject to your approval, just the way that, whatever, many of the things that we do at a committee level or whatever, we have to bring the work product to town meeting for approval.
It's no more different than advisory committee, I mean,
As a practical matter, I think it serves as an advisory committee. It's steering the master plan process, and I guess therefore advising you on what the master plan is that you should be adopting.
what would be helpful is having some group like MAPC, it's complicated, and they're gonna be bidding on it, to come up with a model scope and the model representation on a steering committee, advisory committee. And I don't know how to do that.
Well, I'm sure we can get that. I mean, there are a number of other communities that are actively updating the master plans. There are some of our neighbors in the 128 belt that have issued RFPs recently. So, I mean, I think there's a lot for us to look at.
Don, when I do RFPs,
Mhm.
I search around to other
Right.
communities and pick the best ones, and then from those, I put together an RFP that's
Right,
success.
and that's a classic,
We don't-
thing. You're suggesting we do, I mean, it's nowhere different, I'm
We
saying,
don't need a third party to do that.
well,
Okay,
it'd be nice to have something working, we,
You have anything
don't do
to
this regularly, it's what the last time was
So-
Who are we
12, 13
appointing
years
to this
ago.
board?
I mean, you're asking for opinion tonight,
This is only on putting a steering committee together, Don.
in the scope.
It's.
all right, well, let's
Okay, guys.
all right, that's enough.
Let's move
Jerry,
on.
you got anything to say, add to this shortly?
No, we're way behind.
Okay, so we're gonna,
Could I say the only deadline we have is that the warrant closes March 21st, and by that time, the selectmen will have decided what projects, what capital expenses are going to town meeting. And so the sooner you could get, we can have a further discussion about the capital project for updating the master plan. You could come back to the selectmen, say on March 10th or at some point, and have a further discussion about it. I think that would help move it along.
all right, well, the difference is we're talking about is 130,000 is one of your statements, up to 250,000. Who we do use and who we don't use is what we're after, right?
It's basically deciding if we're gonna put a steering
If
committee.
we wish to, if we,
And that's the healthiest thing you could do.
okay, yeah,
Because
then,
you're gonna get a
so
consensus.
President, we are somewhat on the impression that we would like to have the steering committee, we want to go along with this, so then,
Yeah.
what the board will send to you right now, as far as I'm concerned, we're gonna say, yes, a steering committee sounds like a good idea.
And it'd be good to have a draft that we can decide on, either from our end or
Well,
Keith.
well,
I mean, we'd be glad to, with the sign of support for the concept of the steering committee, we'd be glad to bring you some examples of what is
Great,
the steering
all
committee.
those in favor?
That's great. Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Good, next?
I just want to be sure we had a draft.
Yeah, we got it all,
Staff
so
and
we're
Sarah.
good, keep moving. What's next?
Scenic road, well, actually, we can skip the rest of the board business till after we're done with the other work.
Let's get rid of that and get back on the schedule with these, okay?
Okay.
So we're, what, number 750?
Yeah,
Which we're late.
37 Air Road.
Does that need to be read? Where's that one at?
No,
It's
it's,
just,
yeah.
which one of
Yeah,
these guys?
37 Air Road, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Should I present from an easel or should I sit at the table?
You know,
You can put
They
it
can,
on.
I think they can see everything from these things here.
On the chalkboard?
Right there's hunky dory.
Thank you for your time this evening. I gather that you're very busy, so I'll be very brief, and I'll take questions. My name is Greg Roy with Ducharme Dillis, and I'm here representing the applicant, O'Brien Commercial Properties. We're here this evening with a proposed modified site plan, which includes the construction of a 40,000 square foot outdoor storage pad at 37 Air Road. The site is a commercial office building shown here with associated parking. Air Road is down here. The municipal building is right adjacent to the property, right here. There are two drainage areas on the site. One is located in this area, which is a depression. The other one is located where the proposed pad is. This depression takes a small percentage of the parking area currently. The balance of the site, including the roof, goes to this area. We presented to your board, not only the revised or the modified site plan that we're presenting this evening, but also the hydrologic drain calculations that show that the proposed reworking of the site could be accommodated in a slightly expanded area in this area here. The site will be fenced, and the nature of the storage is for wire and conduit and accessories. The accessories there too.
As far as any chemicals?
No, sir, no chemicals. No.
Now, just for the public who aren't aware, this is directly adjacent to the town light and water department.
Correct, yep.
On the east side of that, it's just before you get to the town
Right,
light and
correct.
water.
Yeah, literally, it's the garage bays are right.
Exactly, so this site you're talking about is actually behind the commercial building that's there
Correct,
on
yes, sir.
Bird Road.
Yep.
on Air Road.
Yep. The site is pretty unique. If you know it, there's a very large embankment. It's an old gravel
Gravel
pit.
pit, yeah.
So really, there is no off-site runoff at all. The high point of the site is midway through the parking, and then there's another high point over here. And the drainage area for the whole bowl, if you will, are these two areas. There's no opportunity for the water.
That is just a pad?
Yes, it's just going to be graded natural material.
Right,
gravel.
so it's just like a graded base, there's no concrete, there's no roof, there's no nothing,
No, sir.
just, okay, and behind that, up above, is where all the houses are up
Yes.
in the lower corner, right along there,
Yeah,
right?
right up here.
Okay, are there any neighbors here?
Interstate Road.
Wouldn't have been notified.
All right, okay.
How do you access that?
We're proposing, right in this area here, that we're proposing a gate with an entrance.
Is there, I forget now, is it paved on that, along the property line in your building?
This
That
area here is paved, yes.
It
sir.
is paved.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you be paving inside the fence?
You said no.
No.
Good.
We're good.
You good? Jerry? Dawn?
There are some comments from the Board of Health that I didn't see addressed. There was something about the fence height. Someone says 6 feet or higher, someone says 6 feet or lower. And sort of figure out which way that should go.
If
What
it's,
is go ahead,
They're proposing an 8-foot fence.
we've modified that.
is that because of the bylaw
Yes,
All
yes. We've come to that
conclusion?
knowledge that we'd have to get that we'd be in non-compliance with the variance, and we've taken that off the table.
Okay.
And the only issue that the Board of Health has is the fact that it encompasses the reserve leach field, but it's gravel, so you're not going to be
It's a non-
impacting that.
so-
Okay, does anyone have any other issues with it?
Well, how high is the fence going to be? That's where.
6 feet.
6 feet,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
And,
We're gonna bring it down such that it doesn't constitute a structure.
okay, you already established won't be any hazardous materials. I'm just looking at the Board of Health
Yeah,
comments. Solid waste won't be acted as a transfer station,
correct,
won't create a condition of air pollution.
correct.
Okay, so you've actually seen those comments?
We have, and I actually put responses in writing.
Okay.
If you wish, I can give those to you.
if we make that part of the record for Maren, it'd be great.
There's several copies there. I've
Yeah, I'm sure
responded.
Maren has it, so that's fine.
You okay with everything so far here?
Yeah, did you want to go through the site plan checklist? And we did get one comment from the fire department
department.
about the,
Which I put in my letter.
This is what
Okay,
we're
great.
going at, you know, the checklist, but this is what Marlon put together as an example.
The fire department
you.
suggested that perhaps some vehicle protection along the backside of the existing propane enclosure, which I also, if it's acceptable to the board, I put these changes on the revised plan, which I can present to you in the record this evening.
So it's redlined it, basically.
Yeah, I did a formal plan revision responding to the comments, so
Okay, great.
that's your copies.
and then one of my questions for you was, we have an estimate to get the drainage, peer review of the drainage, just didn't know if you felt we needed to go through that process.
And was it like 2000, 14, 15?
For this,
Yeah,
I don't see it.
I don't see it. I mean, it's not an impermeable surface. He's not changing the hydrology of the property.
Well, it did
they,
mention emission.
it will change somewhat, but we have stamped design plans, so.
Any changes, someone's going to be responsible for it.
Well,
The engineer.
I'm responsible for it.
Yeah.
yeah,
And, you know, there's no off-site runoff at all, so there's really, you know, in terms of, you know, risk of others, there's really no.
No, I
But
know-
the
I know
better
the
is
law.
the
It's
highway garage, so.
it's not gonna, he's not gonna impact any public way. It's not gonna impact anything other than
Well, the only-
water, if at
Just
all.
the depression. in
The only
center.
difference that he's gonna do, you're gonna put down, trap rock, and then you're gonna put down something else, and you're gonna compact all that, and it's not impervious, but it certainly isn't gonna drain as well as just plain gravel's gonna drain. So it is gonna swale in one direction or another, you can try and run it into that.
Yeah.
So as far as you being the engineer, you're gonna make sure all that stuff occurs?
We've accommodated that in the calculations. We've actually included an infiltration trench to help mitigate that as well, so.
All right,
Well,
I mean, because the only, you know what I'm saying is New Estate Road is
yes.
the backside of that cave, which water would have to run uphill for him to impact.
Right.
There's no-
the cost we're talking about is 1,450 for a review. It isn't a huge cost.
Well, it's not. It's $1,000 they wouldn't have to spend. I mean, you're gonna make them do a peer review for a no-risk site.
All right, so any comment from you?
I agree with Jerry.
All right.
We just.
So that's your
move
concern?
ahead.
Done with that one? You good? Jerry, or Don, with that statement, yeah, that's good?
Well, I'm saying it isn't that much.
All right, well, all those in favor, is this how we're gonna, as far as the design, we're gonna go through this thing here, is that right?
Well, if you want to, or I can finish it later. And then I had a draft decision for you
I would,
to consider.
so I would move that we approve the site plan.
I second.
Under the conditions that,
Oh.
Under the
Where
three,
is it?
under the three
It's this?
conditions, the
Yeah.
fence,
so what do you want me to read here?
the vehicle storage, and that's it.
That's it.
Two conditions.
And to approve the site plan modification shown on the attached plan with the following conditions, the fence under 6, no storage of motor vehicles.
And then you decided not to do the drainage review.
I'm leaving off the drainage review personally, everyone else is good with that too?
Yes.
Short
Well,
of,
I'll-
short of you, short of Don,
What I was trying to say is I'd go along with it, but you're.
if they gave money to what?
Good.
I'm good.
So all those in favor?
Well, you have it approved and seconded, you need,
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 the other person down there for approving and seconding
Huh?
it. You need someone to move it and someone to second it.
Who moved it?
I moved it and Jerry seconded it.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, well, thank you. Bring more business to Littleton.
Okay.
Is that all you need?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll take that folder.
Weapon.
Okay,
Oh, no, they did.
that's all right.
I just want to get it over with.
Okay, the next site is 1 Adams Street, Jake's Auto Body. Not to put word in Jake's mouth, but he's asking about his site.
Okay.
Yeah, they told me that I have to do some drainage or whatever there. I don't know exactly what the town wants. But as you, I was just listening before and you said, oh, this package store here and this package store there. trying to put a tow yard in there. Place I believe is grandfathered. Other people say maybe it isn't. It's been there 50 years. I've been doing towing and storage 16 years. People before me been doing it for 14 years. It's been going on there for 50 years. Towing and storage. Now, telling me that I can't have a tow yard and this, or do towing for the town of Littleton. I've been in business there for 16 years. We can't do any towing because my yard, I had to get it in there because they wouldn't approve the yard that I have over there, which I believe is grandfathered.
Yeah, we've had quite a few conversations about this site. On the map here, if you look at the number 1, it's 1 Adams Street, and then he does have a fenced-in area shown just below that.
And it's well fenced and screened.
Right. Roland has given him a verbal determination that he's not grandfathered for storage of vehicles towed on demand of the police department.
Which could be 24
What
hours.
difference does that
Let's
make?
hang on a minute.
And
If you would finish.
so I think Jake's question to you is, it is Water Resource District. What's the general feeling, what general consensus about being able to approve a site plan and a Water Resource District special permit for this site if he were to do the paving and the drainage control, some sort of LID methods to make it possible for him to store police towed vehicles on the site to the police department standards where it needs to be fenced and locked.
Jerry, you want to,
just-
I'm sorry,
I'm
is that
sorry,
it?
go ahead.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
By the time you get done doing all that site work, how many cars do you anticipate having on your lot at any one time?
First of all, I don't look to do any site work because I believe the property is grandfathered. I do towing and storage, always has done towing and storage. It's had a Class 3 junkyard license there. It's had,
Okay.
Not anymore.
Jake, we've gone through that in several meetings. Roland's made the determination that it's
Yeah,
not a active use. It had lapsed for a couple of
Correct,
years.
no, that's what I'm going on, that's why I'm
So,
asking.
right.
The question is, I mean, if you're gonna come in front of us, you want us to approve this use,
right.
my question to you is, since Roland's already told you that, you've already lapsed it, so you're not grandfathered. If you had to make additional site work improvements like drainage and fencing, how many well, let me just ask you this, how many cars do you anticipate storing on that lot?
10.
And what is that, what do you accommodate there now?
In what capacity are you going to store these vehicles? Waiting to get worked on,
You're
towed
going to get
in?
worked in, towed on, so on and so forth. Because I have a body shop, I want to bring in more work. That's why I want to do the towing for the town.
How many cars do you store on your lot now?
Oh, there's got to be, there can be up to 30 in there.
Right now?
No, not right now, today, 15.
And how often do these 15 roll over?
Often, I turn them in out of dealerships, come in from tows, from customers, whatever. Depends on what the season is, how many cars I
How many
have.
cars do you go in the door and out the door a week that you do the body work on? You average probably 3 or 4 a week?
3 or 4 a week, maybe 15.
15 cars going in and out of there in a week?
At least. I do Buck Honda and Acton Toyota, I do what you them do.
So I believe the question is, would we oppose a site plan? I don't think I would oppose a site plan.
And Water Resource District
Yeah.
special permit.
Yeah, I think I would,
No, well, I heard you people talking before.
yeah.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, I mean, you got something to say?
No, I'm gonna wait for you, and I'm gonna let Don say something
I
quickly.
mean,
and
he's
then-
already running, he's already
Yeah.
basically storing cars temporarily there now.
Right.
It's not like he's gonna exacerbate, I mean, I'm not talking about the wreck, I'm saying, as far as intense, it's not like he's gonna get any worse than it, when I say worse, it's not gonna get any more intense than it is now,
Okay.
right?
You all set?
Yeah.
You?
How do we know it's not getting any more intense? I mean, is there a limit? I mean, I went by, it seems like it's nicely screened. I am so curious if the neighbors have said anything, but, and assuming it's gonna be in the same capacity it had been before a lapse, I guess.
Okay.
But do we have any guarantee of that? I mean, do we specify a number? I'm a little concerned about going against Roland, but he has been there in the past. I
Well, this
feel a little bit
would actually,
sympathetic about that.
this, if if we agree that this is a use that we wouldn't oppose, then we would actually help Jake bring it in line with what Roland wants to do. Roland wants him to get grandfathered.
Condition it.
Roland wants him to get permitted. He's not permitted now.
Yeah.
So we would not oppose a site approval, and that would be one step towards his permit.
You say Roland wants them permitted.
Well, wait,
Roland has stated that he's out of compliance right now,
He said he needs a
basically.
permit, not that he necessarily.
Right, so then he's gotta go through the special permit process in a
Exactly.
water resource district.
Exactly.
And he has to overcome the special permit process in a water resource district for storage of cars.
Yeah, so that means impermeable surface and water treatment.
Yeah, that means he's gotta pump a bunch of money into that
Have
site.
to do a lot.
That's true.
Probably.
However, all right, so there's just, hold on to that for 1 second. Are there any neighbors involved with this property? Nobody?
They probably wouldn't, they weren't notified.
Okay, but, all right, now, as far as you're concerned, you had one more thing to
You
ask.
talked before about the packages, how many you got. There's one other tow yard in a residential area, commercial.
Right, that, when we've had that
No,
discussion
no,
many
no,
times
to let them
too.
know.
All right, hang on a second. You can finish your statement, please.
In a residential area, 2 old age homes and a church in the front, dirt parking lot. There was issued a permit in '04 to another person. And that permit, I believe, is not even valid. Why isn't he made to do all the screening and put in the oil traps and everything else? And I have to.
I'm not aware of that place. If you need to make that statement to the person you need to, is more than likely Roland. Have him, well, then you need to
Right.
take that up with him and figure that out. Now, hang on a second. Marion, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, we've had that conversation a few times. Complaints need to go in writing to the building inspector with any backup material, and then you take that up with him at that time. The board has no,
Have you done that?
Yeah, I got, when I,
You've
when I
done it in writing?
no.
Oh, no, I haven't done anything in writing with
Well, then,
him.
once you do it in writing, then we know you're serious about it, and then we'll go
Oh, I'm
from there.
very serious about it.
Then
Why
put it in writing.
am I not getting grandfathered over that?
And that,
Big lapse.
And Roland has let you know what the procedure is. If you want to appeal his decision that you're not grandfathered, you take that decision to the appeals board. That's the process.
We
Okay.
can't.
So this, in reality,
Make
this,
the determination if you're grandfathered or not. We have to listen to Roland.
Right.
Our box we operate in is very limited.
Why was that permit issued illegally, and I'm going through this?
See, that's not in
There's
front,
only one other tow yard, and it's keeping me from towing.
but that's,
It's keeping me from $100,000 worth of trucks down there. Because Roland can sign any permit he wants? What is this, kangaroo court or something with this?
No, I don't know, nobody's saying that. We're saying the process is, you don't come in front of this board to make that determination, you go in front of the ZBA to appeal
Okay, well,
Roland's
that's what I'll
decision.
do.
yeah,
That's where you go. And then if they find in your favor, you can come back here and apply.
that's to,
Or maybe you don't even need to go through a special permit process, but if you go through the special permit process here, you're gonna have to pave your site, put in grease traps, and do all that work.
Okay, I
I mean,
understand.
it's your option.
It is what it is when it comes to that. If that, I want to make the town of Wilton happy, what I put in over there. Now, we're in a residential area with a couple of ponds there, and
let's leave that portion out of it. Let's do.
we're gonna leave that portion out.
Let's
I want to comply with whatever you people
That's
want to do.
great. That's what we're interested in, all right?
Because I
So-
bring in business and I want to get business in this town.
Good. So, that being said, what we're after now is simply nothing more than, this is really no decision for us.
nothing.
No, we're not
This is
making it's
right.
informal discussion.
So this informal discussion that we have right now is, that apparently, Richie doesn't really have a problem with
I
you
would-
doing this and applying for what you need to. You don't either, right? If we
Well,
gotta go.
I don't have no opinion on this, I'm just going through what he needs to
Okay.
go through to get it done, that's it.
I feel sympathetic because I see you're trying to do the right thing by the screening zone, but it sounds like the process is the ZBA.
Okay, so, you know where you gotta go now?
Yeah, where do I go to find out if I'm grandfathered? The place has been there 50 years.
No, you
yeah.
gotta go
Yeah.
bring your case in front of the
Once-
zoning board of appeals.
Right.
And the
Okay.
neighbors will also be notified.
Oh, that's fine.
Right, so they can give the opinion, and building up support is helpful with the neighbors.
Jake, if you get,
All right, where are we
if you
now?
get the ZBA to say that you are
Stop this.
grandfathered, you don't have to come here. But if they agree with Roland that you aren't grandfathered, then you do have to come back here for a special permit. And I believe the question to us is that would we oppose, I know I wouldn't oppose the special permit.
And then there's a very narrow, Roland has taken a narrow view on adding the towing for the police department, because that has very specific requirements. He's seeing that as an expansion of the use, and would probably kick that back to you for Water Resource District
Yes,
special permit
exactly,
anyway. So
exactly.
there are, he could go to the appeals board on the grandfathering issue, and he can also come to you for the Water Resource District special permit, but he may not have to go to appeals board. He may be able to just do that through you.
Exactly, yeah.
Diabetic.
I think the town supports any business, any additional business. That's what that
good business is
area
small,
is.
So I have to go to the
You're
Board of
already,
Appeals to find out if I'm grandfathered.
you're already operating a business
I
here.
don't
This
need
is.
any of
If
this
you
is
want to
just
challenge Roland's decision,
growing that
Okay, I
business.
definitely do.
then that's where you gotta go.
Yeah,
Try and focus on what you want, not what, everything else, what somebody else is
Right.
doing. God only knows how that occurs.
I
Focus on what you,
didn't want to get lawyers and everything involved in this.
just focus at what you
I
want.
want to.
You may have to, though.
I want to get my business going up and going. There's too much money involved for a little guy like me. I should be out giving my toast in the Shover Garage and Banks and everybody else when I toast something in. If it's not water body related, it should be going to the town.
And you've
Yeah,
been
but
there for a
wait, just
long
so, I
time.
mean, just so we're clear, you're gonna have to provide evidence that refutes Roland's claim.
Discussion that was at the
We're not
point.
just gonna take your word for it.
Okay, that's not a problem at all.
All right, we're falling behind.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you, and I gotta go to the Board of Appeals, right?
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you for your time.
We are now at an update for Sam Park. Come on down, the water's fine.
I'm playing part of Sam Park tonight.
We'll make it quick.
I will.
Well,
Set the timer.
Well,
Dawn,
you're already 20 minutes behind schedule, so.
All right. How much time do I have left then?
oh, no, we don't rush this one. This one's,
Oh,
we're gonna take our time with it.
Thanks for your patience.
What is the one thing once spent can never be recalled? Time.
Okay. For the record, in case anyone forgot, my name is Tim Power with Land Strategies. We're the owners, project managers, so I work with Sam every day on the project. He apologizes for not being here. First of all, he got called to New York.
We acknowledge it, you're qualified in verse. Please continue.
Excellent, thank you. This is just an update. We're not looking for any approvals or modifications. We just want to keep you up to speed, like we've said. So I'm starting with just the original permit drawing that we got approved. Not the basic overall layout is still obviously still the same. This was just a modification, looking for the pretty picture. So this is where we've ended up now, which you may have seen something similar before. We've kept all the main themes, as you know, with the more techie look here, with some of the bigger buildings, and then the village scheme. Some of the advances we've had are increasing some of the pedestrian atmosphere through this plaza space is detailed, and I'll have an image of that for you. We're taking a look at Building M, which previously in Phase 2 was just one larger building here. We think that maybe two smaller ones creates a sort of pedestrian connection to all of this area and add to that sort of villagey feel. That's unofficial. When it's all tenant-driven, when that becomes official, we'll come and do modifications as necessary. But some of what's driving that as well is the cinema. We are in talks with 3 cinemas still. We haven't fully inked a deal, but we're sure that 3 of them one of the 3 will show up. They all are competing against each other at this point. So.
and what scale, how many screens?
Approximately 35,000 square feet, which is 6 to 8 screens, so not a megaplex, but I think it's good for this.
Are we talking Barca Lounge or seating, right? We're talking about like AMC, Tingsboro.
What was the original part of the question?
How
The
big?
vibrating chairs.
Talking about lounge
surf
chairs.
chairs.
They're all heading that way, and I believe all 3 of them have some component. One of them is all of that component, where it's the big theater,
No,
the
yeah.
new going to the theater atmosphere, which gets you out of your living room, which can be as good as older theaters. So They're all trying to add some aspect to that, which we like and encourage because it makes it more of a destination for everything, so.
You can have a place that makes breakfast. Because Littleton doesn't have a place that makes breakfast.
Right now, we don't have a breakfast joint, if you will, with the old
want a
counter, but
breakfast
there's a
joint.
place that serves breakfast.
Like the old Monarch. Can you bring the Monarch back?
Well,
Can they do that?
I
Like
guess
8-track
I'll-
tapes?
He probably doesn't know the
Can they do
model.
that?
I guess, I don't know that, but I will say that I think that one of our restaurants will be having at least a brunch on the weekend, so not daily, but nice breakfast.
That's all high-end.
Keith, you were gonna say something?
No, I won't.
Okay.
Except that, well, Starbucks has, breakfast sandwiches.
No, I want to sit
There's
down.
Starbucks in
You know, a good omelet, ham, cheese, mushrooms,
yeah.
tomatoes, onions,
Yeah.
one of them, you know? What do you say? Can you do that?
I'll work on it. I will work on it for you.
What's
I
this
don't know if
guy's-
Sam, I don't know if Sam will go for it, but
This dude's name is Powers,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Where do you live?
Right.
Whoa.
Okay. So just to update what we've done is we have been focusing on that cinema deal, we've been focusing on the hotel deal, and we have obviously our anchor tenant. With those locked in, we start getting conversations with the more junior anchors, like the home goods type places, which we are rolling into that, the momentum of the cinema, and now the hotel have led us right into that. So some of the larger spaces here, Building B and even Building D, we're in discussions for.
So the hotel's H?
The hotel will be H. I'm jumping ahead in my notes. but
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. So that's been our leasing focus, right? The anchor, then sort of the cinema and the hotel anchors, and now moving into the smaller guys. Some other smaller pieces have filled up along the way, but that's been our focus. All of Building F is committed, not signed leases yet, so I won't give you names, but I can give you the full generics with confidence. And all of this lower level A, D, and F is just about full, and similarly D, and starting to see B fill up. So we're filled up here, filling up here, and we're immediately spilling over into.
So what kind of things could I buy out of Building D?
So Building D will have a restaurant. It'll be an Asian-style restaurant, which will cover everything, the typical Chinese food menu that you see, Japanese and sushi.
Keep going.
And hibachi tables. We're in talking with 2 franchise massage places.
Nice.
So we'll have a typical, like a fast casual burger place in Building D. As you go into Building F, we were talking to a toy store, a very popular yogurt company, a premium coffee shop.
Very nice.
See, smile.
You left E out.
Westford Mall, they do.
What's that?
You're redoing
You ever say charging us?
Westford, one of the Westford malls with a movie theater. And a dormitory for the IBM visitors.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
All right.
So,
Got it.
yes, so
All right, so in summary, that's what you're doing.
I think that's what we're
So
doing.
if I picked up, if I sold all my stock in IBM and it plummeted, where would that leave you guys? I'm just curious in your thinking.
Well, I think, the hotel is the dormitory for people visiting.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
However, there's plenty of gaps in the market for hotels here as it is. And the hotel companies we've talked to, there's the Residence Inn up the street, and I forget the Westford Regency,
Yeah.
which are somewhat outdated at this point.
Ooh, be careful.
So, I don't know but that's, I'm not a hotel guy, but that's what I've heard, so.
Are you short IBM stock?
What? I'm not going to say a word. I want to say
Sure.
is, I'm just curious in your thinking, because this sounds to me like, 1990 revisited. I'm just curious. That's all. That's what it comes across to me like this is 20th century revisited. A dormitory for IBM and a movie theater.
Well, I think with
It's okay. I mean, it's...
so.
Can I have your name, sir?
What?
Your name?
Mike Zeldin.
Zeldin?
Yep.
Z-E-L-D-E-N?
Yes.
D-I-N. Where do you live?
Bland Street.
We good?
Thank you.
Okay.
He
Thank
just
you.
needs it for the record.
So
Just for the record, not for me. I'll throw stuff at your house later.
Just to respond to the question, this is really, you're downplaying the hotel and the cinema, but with the cinema, with, 3 to 5 full-service restaurants, shopping, which we anticipate having more high-end fashion at the top. We're pushing this to as close to a destination shopping center as you can. Legacy Place in Dedham that's been very successful is a shopping center with a movie theater and a grocery store, right? Yep. It doesn't even have a hotel. There's a hotel across the street. So just the fact saying it's a hotel and a cinema, those are huge draws for people to come out every night and come shopping. And they don't just go say, oh, I'm going to go to the movies. They drive to the Cinemaplex. They say, let's go to the Point. We'll have dinner, we'll go shopping, and catch a movie at the same time.
Nice.
So the hotel is for the business corridor up Route 110 to support that business. So it's not just IBM, there's Red Hat, Cisco's up the street. And again, with hotels that are either up in Westford, there's a couple there, and then there's one way down in Boxborough. This is just another option. It's an extended stay.
Does
as
this
well, so.
accelerate your phasing?
It does. The action that we've seen, we are actually rolling into phase 2. We've actually released the site contractor to do some earth removal export from phase 2 and get it out. We are trying to balance how quickly this gets out and how this opens. We are D, E, and F, these 3 buildings here. We have released the contractor to do the shop drawing process for steel rebar and steel for the building. So it's officially in motion. You won't see anything because that time is maybe a month, 2 months for prepare all the shop drawings, get them reviewed. So you might not see activity, but it's behind the scenes for the next couple of
All
months.
right, let's get at it next.
It'll explode, so.
Susan, where's the supermarket?
Building A, yep,
Can I ask a quick question, please?
yes.
Do you know when they're going to turn on the signal lights on the roadway on 119? They're up, they look great.
They are up, and unfortunately I don't know when they're turning it on. The overall schedule, I know we are, I'm not sure if there was one more signal to install still on the opposite side. However, I mean, they'll be up and ready before we can turn them on. They'll go to flashing. For the poles that are in the way, which kind of goes with that whole system, Littleton Electric is off the poles. Comcast is moving their wire on the poles. They're waiting for Verizon, which still may be a couple of months, 3 months to move them.
Verizon, yeah.
So it's kind of tough, but so I think we had a plan to be able to turn those on and activate them before that happens. It involves us striping the road twice, just because we can't have the official full lanes till the poles are gone. So if we get to that point and they're ready to turn it on, we'll turn them on sooner.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
When's the first store expected to open? Once you're...
We're actually, we believe the supermarket will be ready to open in late summer, early fall.
And do you have a name for your store for that?
Yes, it's Market Basket.
It is Market.
Okay.
Very good, thank you.
I didn't get finished all your restaurants, so you know Tavern in the Square is there, the Japanese hibachi place, and we're working with a local restaurateur who's from Groton, has a restaurant out in Lexington. I just think of a Northern Italian concept, so he doesn't really have a name because he's the type of guy who just creates it out of nothing. So we're pretty excited about it. We're trying to get him to fit in Building G. Wants a little more space than I think we have, but we're working on that now. So for now, those are our 3 full-service restaurants.
Seriously, I mean, if he blows up Italian restaurant, I'm gonna be pissed. There's not a good Italian restaurant outside of 128.
Well, the restaurateur loves it.
I don't know, you been over to the one in Westford, in Groton Center?
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
That's pretty good Italian food.
Tim, I got a question. What's the semicircular building in the background there?
This one, so this one is Building J. When it comes to hotels, we originally pitched, either Building J was a location, Building L, configured K was a little different, hotel was here, or Building H, you guys land on H. This is a most likely retail with an office. This could still go all office. We're not quite sure it'll land on this curve. This is a little bit more for marketing purposes, that it helps this whole thing feel nice. it may straighten out the end and reduce in size, so.
Is there a sports, I mean, a exercise place?
I said there was.
We have been talking to a smaller fitness club, and we haven't fully committed. We are hoping to try to get a bigger, more typical.
Okay. Okay, and
Right next to the hamburger joint.
Right next to Hamburg Joint.
And the Starbucks.
And the sweet kiwi.
one more thing. When these original concepts were proposed, there was going to be lots of green and breaking up the parking lots. I don't see that in this rendition, in the middle, across the middle.
You don't see the tree?
Yeah, we're starting.
Is that green across the middle?
And it's
This
not
is-
looking
yeah,
like
this is
downtown
green, and it's
Freddie
a
Brown
little hedged, but
anymore.
we're trying to manage a walkway through there as well, so you don't have to necessarily go all the way around, you can walk apart. But these are meant to be, green islands through here, so trees all here, trees here, trees here.
Just
trees
blow
here.
up the tree size the next time you come in here. Just keep
Let's
making
blow-
it
make
bigger
them
and bigger
bigger.
until you can't see anything.
Right. Similar here, right, all along our streetscape feel, and then, halfway through, there's sort of a pavilion island here, splitting up the grocery market to the.
You were originally talking about little kiosks where you sit down and read and watch the flora and fauna, and all of a sudden we're,
So, this, one of the things we've been developing is the plaza space.
you see, that's now that's pretty.
So this is the upper level, this is building D, this is building E. You can see F is down here, here's Constitution Ave, right? So you drive up Constitution Ave, past the first parking bay and come in here. And this is really, this is what we have
A lot of things.
architectural drawings for now, is really this layout with a nice trellis feature, which actually not shown here, but this sort of piece here will mimic the trellis. Outdoor seating might shift a little bit based on where there's a food section, but that's the idea. Sam is adamant about a fire pit. I don't know if it'll look like that, but this is the concept, which is, Adirondack chairs around it or something. But this plaza through here, coming through here, and then stairs down to the lower level is what it will hopefully look very similar to this. I just want to show you from the lower level, because you like that picture so much. Let me give you another one from the lower level. So,
You asked, right?
oh, this is the same level, but from the ground, right, where you and I would see it from.
What kind of stuff they sell at signage?
Signs.
Lots of signs for sale, very high-end signs. This is the lower level, you can peek in and see the stairs.
It's gonna be a tough sale, you got 4 signage buildings right
They got a
there.
lot of signage.
It's for competition.
Yeah, free enterprise.
Good, so the trim and the roof shapes will stay? I mean,
Yes.
We're looking for gables and.
Yes, and we have, I did.
Overhangings.
I did bury them, they're a little less exciting to look at. I have the architectural elevations that you can
You have that?
certainly take a look at.
All right, Reader's Digest, because you've used your.
Way
15
over
minutes.
my time limit,
Yeah.
sure.
Well, you're supposed to put us back on schedule in your,
Sorry. So, this, like I said, the boring elevations, but what I want to point out, this is building D, right? We still have the gables and some pitched roofs. This is the view from the upper level, same feel. This entrance might get brought down a little bit because this was when it may be an office, but I think it's going to be a retailer. But you can see this sort of the village feel. And also, you can see that these are the side views. They're a little less, this is the loading one, where the loading is, so that's the plainest one. But they still get a lot of features from all 4 sides of the building, so building E is a special.
questions that don't require an answer. Okay, we're good. Thank you.
Good?
Informative and progressive.
Any comments from the audience? Or?
No.
Any other comments?
Good luck.
Yeah, are there any announcements to make yet about the timing of the hotel, or are you still working on that?
No, we will, well, let me add that. We
He's
will
got a
come
family
back.
reunion coming up, he wants to play from all.
Yeah, we will come back in the very near future with the hotel, do a formal hotel introduction, and as we have not yet seen their official site plan to provide our comment as the owner. So once we do that, then we'll come back before the board if there's any modifications needed. If there's not modifications, we'll come in and, informally if need be, and present the hotel. But their timing is moving forward. I think they could, if everything goes smoothly, they could be under construction at the, in the fall on that pad. And then it takes them almost a full year to build and outfit the entire hotel. So, at the earliest, maybe fall 2015 opening. Maybe spring 2016.
Right around when,
The economy kicks the bucket again.
so
At one point, there was gonna be some medical building there, or medical offices, is that still being considered?
We've reserved a number of spaces on the site plan for office space. We never had any, committed out-of-office tenants, but like I said, Building J could be office, the upper level of C could provide office, and even we're thinking of sort of a second story here to balance the high ceiling hotel that could possibly office as well, integrated into the whole site.
Great job, keep going.
Thank you.
A burger, a workout, and a nip tuck.
So, any comments from the audience? None? Or-
No, we're good.
Great,
We're still behind schedule.
big progress, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Next. Informal discussion, 671 Great Road. Site update?
Yeah, that's the carpet store.
Good afternoon, good evening. Oh, sorry. This is,
Throwing, you see, this is called graft. Throwing candy at us.
It's a de minimis.
this is,
Yeah, does anyone else want some candy?
I tried throwing at them, but
Thank
nobody
you.
wants to play.
so this is
Okay.
Katie Enright is the engineer, and I'm representing David Guthrie, Sherry Gould for the record. I'm representing David Guthrie, whom you may know is a developer builder. He
Do you believe the Arlo?
operates only near Alice's restaurant. And you may or may not know that the carpet store down on 671 Great Road has been for sale for a while. And it's a difficult site because it's really off the beaten path. And Mr. Guthrie is a very experienced and, well-heeled developer in the Westford area. He does beautiful construction and architecture. And he was approached to ask if he could lend a hand here. So what he'd like to do is to bring this building back to full use. It has in the past been occupied by various tenants. They come and they go, and again, it hasn't really been an active building. So what
This
he's
is
got...
next to Floor America. I see Flame is on one side, but Floor America's on the other side.
Yeah, Floor America is the
This is
building.
Floor
This is Floor America. And if you've ever been there, I think you know that over the years, he's used, let's get my orientation here, from the Great Road side.
Yeah.
So these bays on the right here have been empty for a long time, but they were occupied in the past by various retail businesses, and they just, weren't able to make it there. Then he used this all the way through to the rear. And if you've ever been in there, there's a lot of storage in the back for the carpets and the remnants and the warehouse stuff and the linoleums. And he, at various times, takes different space in the front for displays. He put in tile veneer and put in racks of displays, and he's had a good business. But as you know, if you've used it, never use a lot of parking, and that type of business doesn't ordinarily use a lot of parking because most of it is done in somebody's home. They might come in on a Saturday and pick things and go home with it. So for him to renovate the whole building, give it a nice new facelift, probably a little bit new roof pitch, and in the back here are some sheds, like lean-tos that they've added on over the years. He wants to actually incorporate that into real space. So when he's all done with the building, these numbers are a little bit scattered, but when he's all done with the building, it will be about 15,000 square feet if you add the finished sheds. And what he wants to do is rent retail here. And with the sheds finished, that puts, the retails could go deeper and they could have storage and inventory behind. So he's not really going to be the full 15,000 square feet of retail. And in the way back, perhaps he's talking to the possibility of maybe a fence company. And again, it's the same kind of business that really contractors go to and not the public generally, like you would go to BJ's or something. And if he comes back for the fence company, we'll come back and ask for some open display, under your permit for open display, but we're not ready to do that yet. And so what I had Katie do recently is to take the existing conditions and the number of parking spaces that are there, and to show you how many spaces we can get on the site without making any more paved surface, because it is a water resource district, and we don't think it's necessary or warranted to have more paved surface. So why don't you go through what you did for that site?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Katie Enright with Hancock Associates, and our office is in Chelmsford. What I was tasked to do is basically look at the existing plans available for the site, GIS, aerial photographs, and do a site visit to kind of see what's out there and put that to a plan and kind of and see what we could do to make it a little bit more efficient, see if we could add some additional striping to the lot. So that's pretty much what we did, is we created a base plan showing the lot, showing the existing building that's out there now, showing the existing parking that is out there, and seeing what we could do to maximize the amount of spaces that were on the site. So in doing that, we've added a couple of spaces, to 3 spaces here, an additional space here. We added parallel spaces, or the potential for parallel spaces, all on the sideline here, keeping an access aisle of 24 feet all the way to the rear of the building. Some additional spaces in the back, and all of these areas are currently paved. Additional potential parking in this area here, with the idea that that may be a display area sometime. These spaces would obviously interfere a little bit with loading, depending on who the tenants were and what doors were kept for the tenants that were here. So really what I was looking at is existing spaces. There's about 23 spaces out there now. We're proposing potentially another 22. That would bring us to 41. Based upon the difference between retail and warehouse, retail in your bylaws 1 per 150 leasable floor area. That would put us, I believe, at about 33 spaces. Industrial wholesale, it didn't appear that there was anything that was specific to warehouse, it would be based on employees, which would bring us to a space count, I believe it was 33, somewhere basically in close proximity to this 41, depending on the number of employees that we were to put out back. Reasonably looking at this as 5,000 square feet of retail, if we were to look at kind of a net area and look at kind of good engineering practice as far as what's required for retail, looking at other bylaws that speak to warehouse at about 1 per 500, not understanding how many employees are going to be back there yet, we're actually right on target with this 41. So I think we've kind of come up with a good balance using the existing pavement to really kind of maximize the striping that can be done up there to benefit the redevelopment of this plaza.
So there's no ask?
What's that? There's no...
You're not asking us anything about it?
Well, we're here tonight just to talk informally.
Let me add, the property needs to be sold relatively soon. There are issues going on with the lender and with the back taxes on it. So the benefits to the community is that a lot of back taxes will be paid right away if it's sold. In addition, it's in an aquifer and water resource district, and this property has had an underground storage tank. They've already ascertained that that can be properly filled and abandoned, and so that would remove all oil from the site and any potential hazard from the oil from the site. You're going to get a facelift, and you're going to get a beautiful new, what I would call revitalized property on Great Road, in an area that is already business zoned. Katie speaks to warehousing. Technically, this is not going to be warehousing because the bylaw has a different set of rules for that, especially in this zone. It's going to be retail with storage behind and no warehousing, and I want to make that distinction specific to you. So rather than look at the warehousing parking requirements, I would ask the board to consider that the leasable retail space should not include the inventory storage space behind, which you would have in the type of businesses that are going to be here. He's talking about possibly cabinet company, kitchens, a kitchen designer. He's talking about the carpet place will stay pretty much in the same configuration, except he's spread across the front. We're going to push him to the rear so that
He's going to sell this, right?
He's selling the building, he's staying with the business, he's going to be a tenant.
He's going to sell the building, he'll become a tenant of the new
Yes.
owner.
Yes.
And so we approve this with the current idea that it's going to be partially storage, partially retail.
Yes.
He's no longer in control of that.
That's-
He gets thrown out, the guy makes it all retail, he doesn't have all the parking he needs.
No, because it's not going to happen, because the retail needs storage. You can't have all retail, you really can't. You need to have a place to put your product in
No,
inventory.
but what I'm hearing you say is the ask is we would give you an exception for the parking.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what you're asking for.
Well, actually, I'm not even asking that. I'm asking you to find that this property is a grandfathered retail use with 23 spaces, and I'm offering you 22 additional. Because it really is. It's never been abandoned. It's always been rented as retail. It's always been used as retail.
I would have absolutely no problem with that, Sherry.
That's what I'm-
In
Whoa,
fact,
whoa, wait.
if I might, in fact, I think that our parking requirements are way overboard. When you have a parking lot in the front of Aubuchon Hardware, and that's an example of our parking requirements, acres and acres of parking that are empty all the time, I think we're just way overboard with parking. So I'm a minimalist in that regard. So you have no problem with me with the parking.
Thank you.
Jerry?
So, you're asking us to just basically look at one use, cut the use in half in that building, do a calculation based on the requirements of the various uses, and come up with a 22, which I don't think is bad. When it says point of procedure, I mean, are we exposed to anything if we do that?
This is informal right now
This is-
This
regardless.
is what I'm asking, that's why I'm asking the question.
Right. I would recommend that eventually it'll have to go through site plan review to change the amount of retail space. If it happens to go double like you suggested, then that would trigger another site plan review at a later date. And then the issue of whether it needs a Aquifer or Water Resource District special permit is a little up in the air. Because a change of proprietorship is supposed to trigger the need for one to come in.
That's right.
You've got a site that's a heavy percent impervious now, and you've worked with a few of those sites before, understanding that if there's anything that they can do to improve the water quality for runoff from the site, you've taken that as the offset and go and have granted those special permits in the past. So it's a good time to look at the whole site and see if there's any improvements at all that can be done for the water quality.
'Cause this-
Right now, they just have one catch basin, that's it.
Right now, this entire darkened area is the entire lot, correct? Right here, there's no more, there's nothing extra.
Yeah.
And it looks like 90% of it is paved or is rendered impervious, is that true? Okay, now these two sheds in between, now that's something that there's been a building permit pulled for these sheds? Because I've seen them once before, a long time ago, and they're, I don't know what the hell they are.
I don't think they'd be pulling a building permit for the
No,
sheds.
no.
Excuse me. I don't think there was a building permit for the sheds. He will be pulling a building permit for the renovations he's doing to the building, and included in that will be handicap accessibility, because he's going to have enough construction to require him to do that.
That's not what I asked. These two sheds in between this, in the U, don't look like they were part of the original building when it was built.
I think that's it.
So, to include them in the square footage, I mean, that's something that I imagine Roland's gonna have to look at it, that these things are, they're there, they're done, they're in there illegally, for the most part. You've rented more. I don't know what's underneath them. I don't know if there's pavement inside those sheds, or if it's concrete. I don't know what's there. And I don't see a problem what you're asking, but
Peter, if they're under 125 square feet commercially...
we're over 125 square feet. It's not a 10 by 12 shed.
Peter, the number he gave me was 340, the shed's total 340.
Each one.
Yeah, no, 3 of them. That's the number he gave me.
Together.
All right,
3
well,
sheds together is what he gave me.
well, the backside of it is 70 feet. So you're telling me that those things are only 3 feet deep? Because 3 times 7 is 20, well, I'm sorry, 4, 7, 5 feet.
But I don't think...
That's 350.
I don't think it's 1, 2, 3. I think there's 2 on each side and a little one in the front, I think. Let me show you what he gave me before.
Pardon?
There's just the 2 overhangs, the 2 large overhangs in the back and then a roof over the side.
Yeah, see, this is what he gave me. And we did the math on it. So it's not quite the same as...
Well, from here to here is 70 feet, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then This right here is saying it's 16 feet,
Yeah, but I don't
20
think-
feet.
I think she's right. I think
20,
it's
20,
not all
20.
shed. I think there's a roof overhang, and it's not all shed is why. Because he did the math for me and came up with 340. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what he told me.
Where's the parking,
He said the building, the square footage of the building without the sheds is 12,800. And about 1/3 would be reasonable for the inventory storage in each unit. The back end is gonna be inventory storage, like warehouse, not warehouse, but like the carpets now in back are stored there.
So you're really down to, say, 8,000 square feet.
So he's down about 8,000 square feet. And again, I
I-
don't think you have to go through, I propose that you don't need to go through a site plan review for the change of use because it's retail, it has been retail, it will be retail, and we're not changing the use on it. What we're adding is a little more additional retail area than you had on your approved site plan.
You say it's retail now?
It's always been retail.
Yeah.
I don't see a real big issue with it personally. I like to see the business go in there and grow, because a lot of times you drive by it and never even see the bloody place.
Right.
Chris?
Yep.
Do you see any legal issues with it changing from one owner to another owner? They're gonna have to, though it stays as retail, doesn't changing ownership require coming back to?
For
All right.
for the Aquifer and Water Resource District, it's
All right,
supposed
so
to.
they're gonna have to come back for that regardless. And once again,
But do we do this with, I mean, just give me an example of another business in town where we say, you got a retail front, but we allow you to count your storage part of your retail shop as not retail.
You have the right to waive some of the parking requirements if you make a finding that you won't need all of the parking. That you're
Right,
not
but
likely
that's
to need all
different
the
than
parking.
saying I'm breaking the building up to say it's half retail, half storage.
But you've done that, though.
We have?
Yeah.
You know, I
In particular.
hope we're not getting stuck here on just parking. What we have here is a building that's, you know, 30, 40 years old. It's in decrepit shape. There's a possibility that a new owner will take it over, give it new life, bring in new retail, with the same, on the same lot, without really basically changing the paving or the building size. How could,
And not requiring site plan
We're not
review for
getting hung
that?
up on
I
that.
wanna see a site-
We're getting hung up on
Yeah,
procedure.
I
It's a matter of
Yeah, I think a site
procedure,
plan
it's not
review's
just
needed.
parking.
Think of someplace, think of CPS, that's retail, but yeah, parking's too tight.
I'm not thinking about CVS, John. I'm
Well,
thinking
I'm saying
about
the site plan
this
review, I
place
think,
right
does
here.
make sense.
This is what's in front of us right now.
Mr. Chair, I have no objection to the site plan review. What
Okay.
I'm looking for today is a sense of the board that we're not going to get stuck on the fact that I can't create more than 44 spaces, that we'll be able to go forward on this.
I don't see a problem with this, with the less parking the better, as far as I'm concerned, you're happy with less impervious areas, correct? Yes?
That aspect, I'm in favor of.
Okay, so that sounds pretty good. And once again, with the, as far as coming before us again later, I don't think you'll have a big issue, personally.
Now,
Do
can I
you?
ask you,
I've told you already.
I have one question for you, though. What is the deal when you said the calculations for retail for parking in wholesale, or not wholesale, storage, warehousing? What is the difference? What is the parking arrangement with that? You said that there are two different
Different
things.
requirements.
there's different requirements, but I don't want to call this use warehousing, it's not, and it's not.
My question is the warehousing, you need more parking spaces?
No, much less.
Okay, but you still don't want to throw it into that issue in case something else comes down that, all
So
right.
you want to call it all retail, not warehousing?
I want to call it retail.
So what happens if it was what if it were like a Walgreens going in there?
By the way,
Walgreens
it's-
would never go in there because of the amount of parking that's allowed.
Right.
Most of these places, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you, but most
No,
of
go
these places, CVS, Walgreens, they require, as part of their program, a certain amount of spaces. CVS typically wants 65 to 75 spaces for a new structure. They would never look at the site because of the amount of parking that we can create on the site. Also, as far as the site's concerned, there's very limited retail draw to the site, obviously,
Sure.
because of the frontage of the buildings.
Yeah.
You've got that 5,000 square feet out front, and I apologize for putting the warehouse name in the back, but essentially the storage area is not going to contribute at one space per 150, because it's just going to be
Okay.
all the stuff.
About eight.
Now, my question to Lauren is, once they change ownerships, is the, and they're gonna add 22 parking spaces, what you're looking to add regardless, and there is a fee involved with each parking space, correct?
You have
That's
a-
in our bylaw, correct? So,
Well, it's a policy that you guys adopted.
Wait,
all right,
Yeah.
fine.
she doesn't need to ask for it. You said it's 8,000 square feet?
Hasn't asked for what?
How many square feet's the building?
It's 8 and 5.
12,
It's
but-
about,
Oh, 12?
and not including, not including the shed.
Broken up.
It's 13.
It's about 13, not including the shed. So if you were to say 13 was retail, or 13 plus was retail, it's like 70 parking spaces or
Yeah,
something
you're looking
that we
for
would
a
do
lead
out
from
here.
like
It'd be
30
crazy.
space.
Right.
Which would be way too much
I get it
for
now,
the
I get
use,
it.
so.
That'd be, go back to Aubuchon Hardware, acres
so-
of parking lot for
And again,
three little
it's in our
stores.
purview to allow lesser parking, correct?
Wait a minute.
I personally, no problem with the lesser spaces. However, you are adding 22 spaces. There is it $110 per parking space? That seems to be the number I recall. That won't be waived. That will be paid to the town. Okay? Pardon? I'm sorry?
It gets you to like, it's like 1 to 300, so it's up.
That's great.
The ratio.
Oh, all right. So, no issues, really? Okay, yeah, I think
Absolutely.
you...
Can I just ask you then what permits you'd like us to have? You want us to have a water resource? You want us to change of use permit?
Site plan review and water resource district special permit.
Yeah.
And the water resource district is triggered, well, at a minimum by the change of proprietorship. But to me, it just cleans it up that you have one for the site.
And do I have enough time to get on your next meeting?
I would need the application information by tomorrow, so, no.
We haven't done the survey.
Then no.
Doing it, I think.
When's he?
Is this something that we would want, have Green look at, right, for the, as far as parking or any of that stuff, they're taking an oil tank that's underground out.
That's out with the
Sorry,
fire department, that's done.
That's all, that's had nothing to do with
That's
us?
not green.
Right.
They already have the permits.
So we won't need Green for any reason?
It's probably similar to the one that wasn't to the 37 Air Road for whether you think it needs review or not.
Impervious thing.
Mhm.
I know where they are, right behind that, it drops off. How far it is to the back of the hill, I don't know, but it drops right down to the brook that comes between Spectacle Pond and Forge Pond and Lake Mattawanakee.
Yeah, hopefully,
They need more impervious.
right, but hopefully their engineer
Right,
can,
there's no, right.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. You're not changing any more, making anything more impervious, but you need to address, I think you need to address whether those sheds or.
Doesn't that require a site plan modification?
I think you should ask the question, is there anything the engineer could propose to add treatment of the runoff from the site?
Yeah, actually, I think that brook that runs behind you is a cold water brook, and there are trout in there. So that wouldn't be a concern, I think so.
Is trout in there?
I think so.
Oh, my husband would love you if that's true.
But I think that's true, going through that pond.
Beaver Brook.
No, it's Gilson Brook, I think.
Gilson Brook?
I think so. Well, you should have Gilson Brook.
Okay, we good?
No, just one other question.
You got one.
If we get a fence guy to be one of the tenants, I'd like to do his permit at the same time. Is that an open storage permit? Open display permit through your board?
Where's he gonna-
Just if we show that area on a site plan,
The only place you
they can do
is
that
inside.
at the same time.
Great, thank
You
you.
say open display?
Yeah,
Where would he
Outdoor
display?
display.
fences.
No, where?
Oh, it's gonna be in the back here.
Potentially in that area that would be screened from the road here.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, no.
He might put a fence up front so you know he's there. I mean.
Yeah.
Barbed wire?
So what you're proposing, initially sounds good, and it sounds like the parking. If the retail changes, thinking of worst case scenario like a Walgreens or something like a Walgreens, do we have an option to review that again? I mean, what I'm concerned about is what if
Once
something-
they get in on the retail and change the retail from rugs to drugs.
Oh, that would
What
be
you say?
interesting.
or something that draws in a lot of people, one way or another.
So are you concerned about the parking?
What gets proposed is sort of initial stages, sounds great, sounds like it works. One way is it can morph into something else.
I have a feeling that,
It fits
how
under
many
the thing.
spaces has CVS got? They don't even have that 44 spaces, I don't think.
Well, it's very tight, there are issues.
They're very tight, but I'm saying they don't even have 44 spaces. So
Yeah.
you're talking about the overall size of this building is less than that CVS, and you're going to have 44
If a
spaces.
Walgreens is permitted to go in under our bylaws, I don't care.
It won't go in there anyway because they like to be where a streetlight
As
is.
long as it follows
Don, they-
what our
they
rules and
can't-
regulations allow, so be it.
They can't create more parking spaces without taking
Okay,
down some
next.
buildings. It
Well,
just,
we're all
that's
set, right?
it.
Is there
They're
somebody,
maxed out.
is there some
for that.
control?
You all set?
Thank you.
You're all set? Set? Good? Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you,
Where
Cheryl,
are we?
for your
Zoning bylaws.
for your patience with us.
Okay, you're up.
All right.
And you are, you're 40 minutes behind schedule.
I'll be extra quick.
I hope so. I charge for ums and ahs. You ready?
Chris, for the audience who's listening,
Chris Heap, Town Council. Hello, everybody.
you're here for what?
What's up?
You're here for what?
I'm here to talk about two of the proposed zoning amendments for this upcoming annual town meeting. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago where we discussed in very general terms the medical marijuana bylaw amendment and the accessory dwelling zoning bylaw amendment. I took a look at both of them with the accessory dwelling. There was a model that was circulated. I've played around with that model and basically produced a new draft. And with respect to the medical marijuana, I've, I think, generated a full draft for you guys to take a look at. So you've got drafts of both. I can sort of walk you through each of them, but I'm here tonight to talk through both of those with you, see if you guys have any, or anyone else has any feedback on what's in them now or what you think ought to be in them. What might not be in them now, but you think ought to be.
Yeah, so we have a new version of accessory dwelling unit, but it's still the same.
It's essentially the same.
For marijuana. Has that been updated?
No, I'll get you that.
Oh, okay.
Today, I sent to Maren today a new draft of both the accessory dwelling bylaw and the medical marijuana, but the changes were very minimal. I don't think, they're substantially the same as the draft that circulated a couple weeks ago. So if you've had a chance to look at those, you should be pretty familiar with the draft as it currently exists.
Okay, I think we had a couple of questions on the accessory dwelling unit one, and then I'll give you the medical marijuana one when we're through the discussion, if you don't mind.
Great. So the accessory dwelling, on that one, I largely took my cues from the model that was originally circulated. I played around with it, I cleaned it up a little bit, but it's essentially the same as what, other than my sort of small-scale tinkering, it's largely the same as the model that was originally circulated, that became fully constructed, basically. What that bylaw will do is allow by special permit, will delete the existing accessory dwelling section of the zoning bylaw, substitute a new one in, and allow by special permit accessory dwellings, which will be limited to 900 feet or less, 900 square feet or less in size. It'll allow them in existing dwellings. It'll allow them to be attached to existing dwellings. So you can think of it as put into an existing house, tacked on to the side or rear, or it'll also allow them in fully independent detached structures on the same lot as a single-family house. So in terms of just sort of issue spotting, in terms of what the bylaw currently does in its current form, that's just, I want the board to be aware that that's, as drafted, it'll allow it sort of 3 different kinds of accessory dwellings to exist on a single-family lot.
Yeah, where was that one there at?
A.
That is
comment.
under 17359A, so about
Okay.
Beyond the purpose.
accessory dwelling unit use and dimensional regulations. It says the special permit granting authority may issue a special permit authorizing the installation and use of an accessory dwelling unit within an existing or new owner-occupied single-family dwelling or in a detached structure on a single-family lot. So that's how it currently sits.
Yeah, that's fine.
If that's the will of the board, that's how.
I think the goal here is to encourage and to create more affordable housing.
Well, that's not, the,
So this would be within, so if I have a two-floor house and I get the entire second floor as an accessory dwelling, if it's more than 900 square feet, then they
You can't have it.
They can't have it.
No.
all right,
So, I mean, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Like if I said, hey, I'm gonna convert my second floor to my in-law.
I think that the way it should read is not, the accessory dwelling shall not be more than 900 square feet. I think it's to add an accessory dwelling to, in addition.
Right.
New construction.
In new construction, it shall not, to increase the size of your building by up to 900 square feet or, maybe 1,000 or 1,100 max, because truthfully, you can get an awful lot of stuff in 1,000 square feet, even in 900 square feet. I don't want to be looking so bloody big, but if it's to add square footage to the house.
I'm just thinking about anybody who currently owns a house, where each
wants-
floor is more than 1,000 square feet, they'd have to modify that floor in order to, you know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense.
Right,
But this is
so-
only in 2 districts and be grandfathered if there's older house anyway.
I think,
Not if it's currently been used as a single, not if it's never been used as a two-family before.
it had to be built before
Accessory dwelling.
1952 or something like that, to also to be a two-family. I think it's not as far as the accessory dwelling is concerned, is not to increase the size of the existing structure
Right.
by more than 1,000 square feet. Okay?
1,000?
Well, it was 900, I just said 1,000.
I
You can
think
get a lot
1,000.
of stuff in 1,000 square feet.
A lot.
A lot.
1,000, I think 1,000's the right number.
I think that's 900, the idea is to try and get, a decent-sized one-bedroom, then an accessory, another bedroom for whatever. A decent living room, kitchen, bathroom, washer, dryer, you can get everything in that.
For 1,000 square feet.
Oh, easily, yes.
Oh, yeah.
You can live great on 1,000 square. And it gives somebody more than feeling like they're in a shoebox, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But as far as converting an existing house, we don't even have to, this doesn't even have to be in it, is that it's, the accessory dwelling is if you add. All right, now, as far as the square footage, like you said, the second floor, he's got a 3,200 square foot house, 1,600 feet per floor.
floor,
Once you
yeah,
take
you
the
can't
second
do it.
floor and turn it into it, you can do that inside the existing structure, regardless of the size of it. But they still have to meet all the other things.
Oh,
The
right.
two means of egress, the parking space, the septic system, to accept all those other things.
Well,
Still have
more
to
than
be.
2 bedrooms and all that stuff, right?
I think that's a good idea. You? Yes? That?
Yeah, nothing that we do in the zoning bylaw is going to affect the application of the septic system rules
Okay, good.
or
All right.
building code. Those are going to,
All right. Okay.
Okay,
Continue,
so,
my son.
Go, keep going.
okay, and so detached as well would be subject to the 1,000.
Detached would be
I would say.
an
Detached.
existing detached.
Okay, no
An existing
new,
garage. You can't build a new garage,
well, that's what I'm
2,000
asking.
square feet, and then slap your,
That's what I'm asking.
that's what we're saying. You can't sit there and say, I have 3,000 square foot house, I want to put an accessory dwelling up, I'm gonna build a 2,000 square foot garage, it's 1,000 square feet. If it exceeds the 1,000 square feet, you know what I'm saying?
The accessory dwelling itself is not to exceed livable area
900 square feet.
1,000.
1,000, 900, 1,000. What do you like, 900 or 1,000?
Well, all I'm saying, the only reason why I brought it up is I don't think somebody who has an existing structure that exceeds the 900 should be penalized for having a bigger space.
Okay.
I'm not thrilled with the idea of somebody going out and building
A detached,
a detached 2,000 square foot facility so that they can have a 1,000 square foot apartment on top. That I think is,
well, actually, in reality, I don't like the detached part of it at all. I'd rather see I'd rather see it attached to the existing building.
That's why I'm here. You tell me.
That's even better to me, yeah, that's even better.
That's how because it still looks like an existing house with just, you know,
Keep
a
it
good-sized
attached.
garage. In my instance, that's what I have. I have a two-car garage, and above it is the apartment. You know,
Yeah.
Well,
attached to the house. I don't like the idea of sticking one away from the building, but again, there is also people in town that do already have a garage or a barn that's detached.
and
So,
they may want to convert that to a au pair apartment or something like that.
I think if you did,
I think we just box the options in when the goal is to create housing by not allowing the word detached.
Well, wait, Richard, I mean, okay, let's just stop right there, because I'm not in favor of creating apartments in Littleton. I understand his use and why he brought it up, and I think that's legit, but in general, creating housing that way is not good for the town of Littleton.
Again, the word accessory, it starts out as an accessory dwelling for an accessory purpose. And this allows those uses to become converted after the accessory is no longer there.
again, what we're trying to eliminate is blood relative or functionally dependent. Take those words out of it and give it a thing. I personally, I like attached. I mean, I like attached to the building, personally, in my case. So that's what I like to see as far as the town is concerned.
You know, I'm not gonna hold it up for my preference to allow more options by including the detached word.
I mean, this is something that goes to the floor, right? Can it be amended on the floor? Cannot.
This does not need to be a final decision this evening. This is,
No,
you know,
but
this is
it's
going to go to a
really-
public hearing before this board.
You're getting our
Town meeting.
sense.
Okay.
Right. This is to decide what version you want to bring to the public hearing.
Okay.
And then after the public hearing, you still have the chance to amend it before you
All
get
right,
to town
let's do
meeting.
that. All right, we'll just
No detached for the time being.
presently no detached unless someone brings it up and says, what do you think?
Might happen.
I am sure it will, but regardless, where else are we?
All right. The next question was how big do we let them, a detached dwelling unit be, but that's, we just answered that. Peter, you mentioned one, as you envisioned it being a one-bedroom. As it's currently drafted, it allows for 2 bedrooms, a maximum of 2 bedrooms.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And does it have with a maximum capacity of 3?
Yes.
Good, that's fine.
3 persons.
3 persons, yeah.
One thing that the model this was originally drawn from didn't discuss, but I think is of particular importance here in Littleton, is the idea of a minimum lot size for this kind of use. Typically, this wouldn't really be an issue because your lot size, you have a minimum lot size that's generally applicable, and you know that's really all there is to it. Here in Littleton, we have a lot of grandfathered undersized lots. The question is whether or not a grandfathered undersized lot of 10,000 square feet ought to be able to have an accessory dwelling unit, just like a larger lot that satisfies the 40,000 square foot minimum lot size.
The problem is going to be is that they're not going to be able to get a septic system big enough on that 10,000 square foot.
Well,
That'll
that's not
limit it
true.
Unless we get sewage.
Well, no, because, so you have, like, the ones down in the,
Only.
I don't know, like
Smaller,
now, when they're
smaller.
building a lot of those new houses, they are getting their septic, oddly, they're raised like 6 feet off the ground, but you get septic in. So it's not like you're not adding more rooms to the house, you're just saying, hey, this part of my house, and now turn it over to somebody else.
See, one of the,
Because that's how they do it, right, by room.
one of the goals here is to help older people stay in their
Yes.
own homes by getting somebody that
But
can
the
come in
same
and stay
instance
with
what
them.
Jerry said earlier, I'm gonna take my second floor and turn it into an apartment. So you take one of the bedrooms and turn it into a kitchen dinette and da-da-da. So there you go, with, you know, a 3-bedroom house.
Yeah, but
Now
that
you have-
can't-
Well, now you got a
that's-
first floor,
that's
and you
not-
say get a bedroom in it.
Yeah, but that's not what this is. You can't just start by creating an apartment. There has to be a need for it.
Yes, it
Accessory
has-
need.
first has to go in front of the Board of Appeals for a need.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what that does is that helps these older people who want to bring in a relative or an au pair to help them,
Correct.
you know,
Yes.
live out their life in their own home.
I'm just saying, I don't think you have to contemplate septic. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you
Well,
know, yeah. So, but back to your point, Chris, the 15th, you know, the smaller lots, if they can fit an addition, the septic system will limit how much available space there is on those lots for that addition.
That's true. I'm just thinking if you're adding
And
square
so-
footage,
So it
my
really
thought was,
doesn't-
yeah, no, my
It's
thought
going
was,
to be a self-limiting thing.
my thought was just if you're adding
Yeah.
1,000 square feet to an existing structure, you can see how a 40,000 square foot lot could easily accommodate the additional construction, whereas a 5,000 square foot lot or 10,000 square foot lot might not. So you could tackle that as part of the special permit application, or you could make it a threshold requirement.
There may be no need for the
Ineligible.
threshold though, right? Because if it's a self-limiting, there's
Exactly.
no need to put it in there.
Exactly.
I could add a new criteria that allows you, that makes those lots eligible for a special permit, but makes it easier for you to assess how the dwelling is fitting on the lot itself.
Right.
So I could make that a decision-making criteria for you to look at among many, rather than
Oh,
something
that's-
that's
They
not.
can't exceed their setback requirement anyways.
Yeah.
Dimensional requirements continue to apply, right?
That's a good point. I could go along with that, but not just because of the size of the lot.
Yeah.
Because certain
Don't wanna
lots are going to
hamstring
have
somebody else
special
to try that.
conditions. Certain lots are going to have very steep slopes.
Yeah, I know.
All right?
All right. But yeah, last one was just, which Peter, you mentioned, is just, we're eliminating any blood relation, medically dependent, any criteria of that kind. It's just, you can rent this, once you get one of these permitted, you can rent it to anybody. And that's neither here nor there is a matter of law, I just want to make sure you all understand that
Yeah.
that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, now this, the small question I have, which might, shoot me in the foot, is originally we were trying, this whole thing is to try and make sure that somebody who's in a house, an existing house, owned a house, to put an addition onto it, to have a relative live with them, not to open up two-family houses to the entire house, the entire town.
It can't be.
The originality of this is for,
Non-relative.
see, originally, it was made for a relative, functionally dependent.
Yeah.
And the problem is the word functional dependent.
Right.
That's the one, because if you read the dictionary, it can be interpreted like anything else. Same with law. Originally I liked the fact that it was for a blood relative, or, through marriage or otherwise, that somebody could stay with it. That was the intent, and to have them stay. I don't really want this to turn into, well, I can put an addition on my house for $100,000 and get, $1,500 rent, $2,000 rent out of it, and make money. Well, it can, but allows them to stay. So that's my biggest goal, is to allow them to stay.
Right.
So, and again, not a lot of people are gonna throw $100,000 at an addition just to stay,
So we've got the
So I
words,
think that's, what you have, I think, is as good as we're gonna get.
yeah, the words functionally dependent are gone.
Yeah.
So there's no arbitrary decisions
Right.
coming down the line. And it says it right here, provide older homeowners with the means of obtaining rental income, companionship, security, and services, thereby enabling them to stay more comfortably in their homes and neighborhoods than otherwise they might be forced to leave.
Good.
Now, I'll add the warning that that's a statement of purpose.
Yes.
The beginning of the zoning bylaw, which is a section in which it's good for the board and the town to explain the policy behind what it's doing.
It gives us
But
guidance.
it does not anything I would ever want the board to rely on in denying a special permit. So that is a statement of what's motivating this zoning change. But also in there is develop housing units in a single-family neighborhood that are appropriate for households at a variety of stages of their life cycle, and add moderately priced rental units to the housing stock. So it's not going to be 5 years down the road a way of limiting these special permits specifically to older families that are looking to stay in the home. That's
Yeah,
It's going to allow you to let those people get these kinds of special permits, but it's not going to be a basis for denying a younger family who wants to add, who just moved into town and wants to add a rental unit to rent to another younger family. So this is opening,
That statement is opening a can of worms.
right. This bylaw is opening up the town to accessory dwelling units, rented out
purpose of
by
income.
all kinds of homeowners,
Uh,
and rented to all kinds of tenants.
Right. Is, in this, which I haven't honestly read the last portion of it, it does say that the owner must occupy one of the units, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah.
That's-
So they
In the
can't,
beginning.
in that sense, it's not like a duplex in that I could buy a duplex, leave it, rent it to 2 people
No.
and go on with someone else. You
Yeah.
can't do that.
Well, what, the owner has to live in the property.
Right.
And the model had a provision whereby they needed to send a notarized letter to Roland within 6 weeks after buying, that they were, the new buyer was gonna live there as well. I switched that to, they need to record, the buyer needs to record an affidavit as part of the closing. So you don't have to wait the 6 weeks, and it's sort of built in a way where hopefully the bank that's lending the money to buy the house is going to take notice and make sure that this is, sort of bring the bank in as
So, I mean, the other way to do
police
this,
officer with Roland as to how this gets enforced.
the other way to do this is to say,
That's a pretty
you
clever
you
way.
either leave in the
the
relative
dots.
part, it has to, not functionally dependent, but has to be related to you, or some type of like, I don't know, language you put in for it, if it's an au pair, somebody helping you with your,
you
that
want-
would be a way to limit it, to just basically your intent, the policy intent. Because otherwise you are opening it all, you're opening it wide open. Which I would think you might lose on the floor because of that. There's a reason why this town hasn't allowed it before.
The last time it came before, it was only basically eliminating, I think the last time, was blood relative or functionally dependent. Was that the only thing it was taking out? And again, I looked at it, in my instance, I built it for my mother. Mother's dead, now what do I do with it? You
Yeah,
know, I built it for her, so now I've got, in my case, about 1,200 square feet worth of, because it originally you couldn't add anything larger than 1/3 the size of your existing dwelling, I think. I don't know if that was part of it, that was a different one. Had to have the parking spaces, the sewage, all that. But when it came down to I had a new pair living in it, and the Board of Appeals said no. I said, what do you mean? She gets them out of bed, she feeds them, she gets the bus. She doesn't have to live there, was their statement. To me, it was honestly an ignorant statement by the Board of Appeals. That she doesn't have to live there, but she certainly was a function of my family.
how is that different than her living in a bedroom in your house?
There are so many illegal apartments now in town, dozens of them.
Well, this will clean up that ambiguity.
I hope so.
Well, when you say clean up that ambiguity,
It's just on how you.
You don't hear
How the Board of Appeals interprets,
Yes,
Whatever
it's
you
opened
say.
up the
but
interpretation.
you are opening the town up to having a bunch of apartments.
you're,
You still gotta be able to afford to put one on.
Has to be a need. You have to be able to prove that need to get the accessory.
It's not what you just said.
Of course he did.
You said that the policy's no basis for a denial.
The fact that you're talking about an older homeowner doesn't need to be the basis of
Again, that was a
denial,
statement
because-
there was.
Because you can have a young homeowner that wants to bring an au pair in.
That's not how we said it either.
He said the purpose,
Yeah.
right, is not being part of this purpose is no basis for denial.
Denial.
That's what he said.
Yes.
Chris, help us here.
I would say that as it's currently drafted, that the statement in the purposes section would give you a good basis to grant the special permit to an older homeowner.
Yes.
Who wants to stay and is using this as a tool to do that. I would not want to point to, 1 out of 5 statements of purpose as a basis for denying the application. I could play with the bylaw to make that a stronger basis for denial, but as it's currently drafted, I wouldn't suggest that that's a strong, that this bylaw, I wouldn't suggest that as this bylaw is currently drafted, it would limit special permit eligibility to, specifically to older homeowners.
And I don't think you would want to, and I know I wouldn't want to, because if there's a younger couple or somebody who can show a need for having that accessory dwelling, they have to show a need.
It doesn't say that.
Hey, and what's the criteria?
This is what,
for-
Richard, let's just be clear, okay? He's saying that the way that's written,
The
the
need,
purpose, the need is
The
not a
need.
basis for
You
denial.
can't.
the need is the companionship, security, or services. But that's the need, those are the needs.
You need to
You
show
have
those.
to have some in other words, it can't be just,
It's ambiguous.
I would move that, if you wanted that to be a real limitation on the eligibility for the special permit, I would move that statement out of, I would
Move it out of
leave something
purpose and move
similar
it
in
into
purposes,
requirement.
and I would move that out and
Make
make
it
it a hard and fast requirement for the special permit.
Which I think maybe.
There you go.
is needed.
I think that's, and then, see, that's to originally get the thing built.
But that said, even that would be a tricky, I would have to spend,
This whole thing is tricky.
I wouldn't want to,
Which is why it hasn't passed.
I mean, what's older, and there's all sorts of definitional stuff you'd have to do.
Yeah.
What is an older homeowner? What's the age? What's the cutoff? What's the, at what point are they in legitimate danger of losing their home, and do they actually need
Yeah,
this
what's the
accessory
This
dwelling?
whole thing is subjective, and I don't like that.
Well, it's
So,
subjective
so
before.
to some extent, it works better as a general statement of purpose, explaining what motivates the bylaw, and that's a tricky.
You would need a good
So
basis
you
for
need
denial.
tests. You
which we don't
need
have.
need tests in there.
It's the same reason you would deny, so the way that, to play it through the application, how the application work, you have under the next section a series of hard and fast requirements for the special permit.
Right.
There's only one per lot. You have, owner has to live there, all that. Once all of those are satisfied, you cut straight to the general special permit standard, which is, no nuisance, no hazard, no congestion, not detrimental to the neighborhood, otherwise,
see, all of
Okay.
that works together in union to limit. how
Yes.
this is used.
I'm not saying you have to grant these, everyone that comes before you, but if you grant, but it's a general special permit standard, and if you start granting,
You need a standard.
you have one, but it's,
You need guidelines or something.
if you
need-
grant the first, 3 out of 4 that come through the door,
Floodgate.
eventually this board is going to, or whoever is the special permit granting authority for this bylaw is going to establish a precedent as to what, when these get granted and when they don't.
Just one question is, in town, if someone wants to do assisted living, that has to follow both federal, state, and obviously certain local.
A true assisted living facility?
Yeah, okay. And there are all kinds of assisted living facilities. I mean, they range from hardly anything at all to full blast. Would it help at all to establish categories rather than try to get everybody? Because I can see what you're worried about, and that's what would worry me, that with an accessory dwelling, it's like saying that it's not the dwelling that you're trying to create. You're trying to create various forms of assisted living, whether it's for an older person who needs assistance, or if it's a young couple that needs an au pair. I'll just put that in one big lump, assisted living. Would it be better to have categories, as it were, of assisted living? Do you understand what I'm getting at? I'm sorry, I don't mean to make your life miserable, because this could get, in that federal housing laws, they'll kill you.
Assisted
So-
living.
Would that help? I mean,
Another category is zone.
You can't, through the zoning bylaw, get too in-depth in terms of regulating, or at all in-depth in terms of regulating the interior space of the building. The building code applies, and the building code has, is going to tell you what kind of separation you need, what kind of access, egress you need out of the building. The sort of the particular details of an assisted living facility, I assume, are strenuously regulated by federal,
Oh, yeah, Ed State.
that deal not just with the structure itself, like our zoning bylaw would, but the interior, what needs to be inside
Right, yeah.
to adequately serve the residents. Zoning doesn't do that. Zoning is concerned with the exterior of the building.
Yeah.
And what can go there, and setbacks, lot coverage. So we could, I think, have a special permit for just au pairs. We could have a special permit, I think, for just, blood relatives who are elderly and need to live.
But not functionally dependent.
But
that circles, I think, back to your question, which is what happens to the structure once
The hard part
the
is
elderly relative
what
no
happens
longer needs
once,
it.
I would love to be able to say that, you want to put one on, it is, yes, it's for an au pair, yes, it is for my parents, my child who's handicapped, whatever it may be. That is the original, and that is the original intent of this, to have it. Once that is granted and that use is no longer necessary through death or whatever other reason, then the building, then that property can then be rented to a non-relative, non-dependent person. That's how I always, that's all, I don't want someone to Littleton to have two families, I mean, turn into everyone's going, that's what they're going to build in order to keep the house. If you intentionally turn around and build one, well, my kids are going to live upstairs, and you build it as such, and your kids are 3, really, you're going to, right now?
So you'd almost have to write it to say exactly what you just said, that you can start if it's somebody's functionally dependent, and once that dependency
is gone,
alleviated,
yes. That's what I was looking for.
You may continue to rent the space.
That space will then be eligible for rental to a non-blood relative, non-functional dependent.
Right.
The other way you can attack it and make it, shall we say, sort of a very, very draconian means test is through taxes.
Well, it will increase your taxes, guaranteed.
No, in other words, what I'm suggesting is the minute you get the...
the dependent out.
The dependent is out, and now you want to turn it into a rental, whether you're the new owner or the old owner, you now get reassessed at a much higher tax level because now you have a rental property.
The assessors doesn't have that leeway.
No, you can't
Can't do that here. Right, okay, good to know.
Like we were wondering if they start selling marijuana out of a place where before they were selling candy, now they're selling marijuana. The difference is, 50 cents a day and $50 a day. Well,
All right, let's think about it and talk about it some more later.
All right, so should I play around with the idea of converting taking what we currently have, taking a special permit granted for a blood relative for functional dependent, and allowing that to be converted by special permit to a true rental unit?
yes, and, under these same purviews.
Got it.
Does that make more sense?
Sure.
Jerry?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we need
Richie?
some way to limit it.
What happens to the au pair now?
Same thing. That's a function, that's a use of the family. I think you should be able to put it in au pair, a function of the family unit.
Yeah, that's legit.
You see, what it also says is living and cooking as a single unit. That's how Hugh Ernestine was renting 7 or 8 bedrooms, or you can get up to like 7 people in your house. And all you gotta do is say, we all eat together. You can have 7 kitchens in your house. It doesn't matter. And Ernie Bach won that down on Martha's Vineyard. So, a kitchen does not designate us another living quarter, because it was a big compound. They went from one room to the next, and, all right, you're making breakfast, you're making dinner, you're having, a whole brunch at my house.
Pretty block on a
Okay,
$7
so-
million house.
Well, it doesn't matter what, you could have 7 kitchens in a $500,000 house. It don't matter.
Have we confused you?
No, I think I got it. I think
Good.
scale it back from its current form.
And, right, there's one issue that I've heard, is that anytime you add dwelling units, which an apartment would be another dwelling unit, that's the denominator on the subsidized housing inventory.
That's
So
correct.
that will, so that's a good thing that we're
That's right.
planning for doing that, moving forward with the housing
So
protection.
we're
this
like-
could fall into the affordable housing thing, you mean?
No.
No.
It
worsens
affects
Yeah, yeah.
it adds housing, it adds dwelling units to the town,
Yeah.
which are
It
counted
shrinks.
as the
Shrinks the percentage.
denominator
Right.
shrinks.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the easiest way.
See, double-edged sword, but this time it's soft, made out of Nerf, doesn't hurt.
It's almost 10, and we gotta hit this next one.
All right.
All right, well, this one, it's sort of a larger issue statewide, but I don't think I have as much interesting stuff to say about it. So this is the medical marijuana bylaw. Taking cues from the last time we talked about this at a meeting, I drafted a prohibitory zoning bylaw. What it does is creates an overlay district where medical marijuana treatment centers are allowed by special permit only. They're not allowed by right.
Overlay by special permit. I like
Special
that.
permit. Because one of the rules that we've gotten so far since the law was enacted from the Attorney General is that you can't prohibit these things everywhere. You gotta, sort of like an adult bookstore, you gotta let them locate somewhere. But you can make that a fair, you can limit the options. So it allows it by special permit. There's all sorts of special permit requirements, application requirements, decision criteria, but essentially it is just, a beefed up special permit bylaw. The locations that are currently in the overlay district were ones, can be subject to further discussion, but these are the ones that we've sort of identified so far. It's the industrial A district, the industrial B district, the police station, and one other town parcel are the ones within the overlay district. And even with those parcels being available, it's subject to a 1,500-foot setback to schools, childcare facilities, halfway houses, religious uses, any number of places where you would want these things to be located away from.
Yeah, in other
1,500
towns-
square foot setback.
Other town parcels where?
It's the
The Morrison parcels is what I have shown on the map,
I think the only,
property.
looks like the only place you can stick it is,
Right, industrial A, industrial B, the police department, police station site, and the Morrison.
How could you stick a marijuana growing facility on the police station site?
What do you mean? So what
Be-
other
be by the
place to
police
put it?
That was,
Right next
these,
to the cops.
right, these were the sites that had been thrown out, and I've added them for discussion.
Yeah.
So everything in red is no-go, green is go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
White is,
But the Morrison parcel really doesn't have facility, I mean,
Well, that's your discussion.
Yeah.
it seems like a strange place to throw it,
I mean, I'd stay away from the Foster Street area.
I would think behind the police station is a great place, yeah. They don't allow it to be used for anything else. They want it secure, so.
Right, and the question tonight is, what version do you want to move forward to the public hearing with? That'll be in
Oh.
March.
Industrial Zone A is the one on Great Road, right, or one on Kings, Air Road. Air Road?
this is 119 right here.
No, 2A.
2A is 119 in Littleton.
110, 2A,
Well,
110.
110 to air.
Oh, well, that way, all right, because it cuts, changes.
So there's A and B on, depending on which side you're on. Industrial.
Oh,
and
okay, so
industrial.
A and B, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would recommend, and then the police station area is probably just as good as
Yeah.
anything.
I mean,
So
industrial
this
area
one's over by
allows you-
Sandville, right? That's what this is?
Yeah, that's right.
And the police station is here. That's Sand Park right there.
Most A
So
and
right
B
behind the
is
police station, or over there. These other ones are, this is 110 2A over here, right?
Yeah.
Right there. And what's this one, over by Acton? That's
It's the Morrison parcels.
Yeah,
up
the
there.
Dog Hill Orchard. Yeah, I
Well,
don't
they ain't
think
going there,
it's
they're not going there.
appropriate.
The only one is the one, Sandville is the only one that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Or the little strip behind the police department.
Yep.
So, I like those two.
Me too.
Yeah, and
Anybody else?
actually, the town could lease out behind the police department.
Behind
so-
the police department is town-owned land.
Yeah, so they could
So?
sell out.
Lease it out, make some money.
You can't prohibit it, but
And, you know, then we're gonna see all the,
And
we gotta allow them someplace, and, you know, it's that simple.
They'd have to
And-
rent,
and
we can
if
lease
we
it to them and be an owner.
Yeah,
Well, it's like cell
This
towers,
is-
you know, the same thing, you have to accommodate, you could lease it as well.
What, I think
anybody
AB's
have any
fine.
other
Why don't
bikes?
you give me an AV?
I just think it's a little bizarre, but I don't see
Bizarre.
any problem with it.
vote to close.
Got a couple other things.
What are we gonna do?
So we gotta make sure that Chris has. more
AB, I
generators.
say industrial zone AB and call it a day.
Oh, the police department's fine, and you don't have to.
Is what,
Town doesn't have to lease.
And I live on that part of town, so I'll defend it.
okay, you good with that?
What is?
That would be a no.
I wasn't paying attention.
pull out the two
That's my
town,
role.
pull out the two town-owned parcels, is that what,
Yeah.
what I'm hearing?
Pull them out? Or
No, I mean, you can't.
that one, that one?
Well, you
Oh,
know,
no, you're talking about, that's the,
We want behind the police station.
You
Yeah,
do want that.
Yeah,
Walk
I
behind
think-
the police
I think we
station.
do
that's
want it.
town land.
Yeah,
So what?
So what?
It's why can't the town make some money? We can either sell it to them or lease it to them. We got the druggies all right where we want them.
The what?
Druggies.
they're medical.
Well,
But-
medical.
No, I mean, there's legitimate use for this.
I don't really see, I don't see personally.
Yep.
I know they gotta be allowed, but do I think that smoking dope is good for you? No.
They don't smoke it though.
Well, there's
Well, they
most
do.
of
That stuff's not
digestible-
real.
I'm just curious, maybe Chris knows since he's
It's all,
the town attorney, but how many heroin arrests have been made in Littleton so far? That would worry me a heck of a lot more than this nonsense.
Oh,
What did what?
opiates.
Alcohol?
No, heroin.
Oh, yeah, well, I believe marijuana is a gateway drug to every, how many people have done cocaine or whatever that didn't smoke dope first?
Almost half.
Almost, I bet you it's
They
more
know
than
direct
half.
heroin is so cheap.
Yes, I know, but everybody starts out smoking dope and then they start doing the other stuff.
I don't wanna.
So
I
I
don't
don't,
want to complain about digressing behind schedule.
Yeah. So I wanna get,
So what I'm hearing is you're all
Whoa,
wonderfully happy with the current draft.
Yes.
No changes.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Coming out of
elimination
tonight's
the
meeting.
town orchard.
And what?
Elimination of the town orchard decided.
Oh, no, we keep that in too, because
I will say one thing, if we
Sounds
leave the
good.
parcels in for now,
We need to
we can
build
take them
a
out after the
building.
public hearing, we can take them out later. If we, so, as we go toward, closer to publication of the warrant, it's better to be, just
All right,
as
so
a
then-
default, better to be over inclusive.
and this is nothing but informal. So go ahead, leave them in, and then let some of the public hearings say what they feel.
I think the town orchard, you can't put anything there because the CR and APR are already in place. I mean, it's complicated, you know. it just
I
doesn't
don't,
make sense.
I don't doubt.
yeah, no, it's great. Then they can't, I mean, it's like prohibition by,
Well,
we're not
and
banning it, what you're saying.
And it's the state helped
Two
pay
things-
for
two
it,
things
so
are
the
worth-
state's a little bit concerned about it.
two other things worth noting with this kind of use. One, and I don't want to jinx it, I mean, the DPH has just announced the Phase 2 application awards, and nothing in Littleton. There's one in Ayer, but nobody at this point is talking about citing to Littleton.
So that's just the starting point.
That's
It can change.
correct, which is why we're doing this. And two is these things got to get regulated, got to get permitted by DPH before they can even think about locating in town. So
And
there's a
they'll weed
whole
each other out.
There's a whole, yeah.
Whoa.
Everybody will like
Yeah,
that
but just
one.
to, you know, just to put it in perspective, I mean, so the feds already released the banks to do business with these things. So the real roadblocks are gone.
That's still up for grabs too, because a lot of them are afraid to take the money in because they're afraid the feds will shut it
No,
down.
they already,
Well, according to CNN the other day, some of the banks are still not willing to take the money from these. I watched it the other day, am I right or am I wrong?
but the feds, the
Not all
holders,
banks are prepared to take the Holder memo that said, in effect, that if the state or local government says it's all right for you to
Yeah.
do the transactions, the local banks or the banks that
That's
want
right.
to service that area shouldn't worry about us too much. However, a lot of these guys don't want to have their transactions looked at that closely in the first place.
well, they're
When
saying
you go-
FinCEN's no longer gonna
Yeah, they're-
list that, so, I mean,
Right,
that's
yeah.
gone.
But some of the banks will not do it for other reasons.
But you realize these are public companies now.
No shit.
Yeah,
These are publicly
Anyway.
traded,
yes.
Did you find this one? This is
so,
okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's coming.
I did see that.
And not only that, but now the first clinical trials on marijuana, real ones, are now just starting.
I
We're
see
going
the
to get the
shit.
results in about 2 years.
There's several
Yeah.
Several votes I need.
That's gonna change.
There's a lot of tax revenue.
Okay, excuse me for a minute, let's, what do we need?
Good.
Okay,
Excuse me.
so Chris has his marching orders on the medical marijuana. The current draft is good, and
Great,
we'll
Bill.
take that to, we've got 3 zoning bylaw amendments that we need to refer to the Board of Selectmen and ask them to add to the town meeting warrant. It's the accessory dwelling units that Chris is going to
Yeah.
modify. We've got the medical marijuana as written. We've got the update to the floodplain maps. We're just going to use the same wording as last time and then a few new panel numbers. And then I had asked Chris about storage of, vehicle storage as an accessory use. When we added vehicular retail sales, this definition of service station, we dropped vehicle storage from that. And I've always been trying to think what the ramifications of that are.
And we separated that just now with Jake?
Yeah, if he's not grandfathered, then that might be an issue for that site. But I just didn't know if we were going to try to address that this time or just put it on the radar for next time.
Address it how?
A zoning bylaw amendment.
Add it back in, vehicle storage?
Vehicle storage, well,
I don't think so.
No, I thought we took it off for a reason.
We took it out of the definition, so originally we had a definition of motor vehicle service station that included sales or storage of motor vehicles.
Yeah.
But
and we addressed.
as we were conceiving of this new use, vehicular retail sales that we wanted to regulate,
Right.
that was really sales and storage of motor vehicles. It didn't make sense to have that lumped into the definition of service station when
Right.
we were creating this new thing that we were going to regulate somewhat differently.
Right.
So we basically made that, we folded that part of the definition into vehicular retail sales.
Yeah.
And then now regulate that as a principal use.
Right.
So that's why we did it.
Right, but
6 months ago.
My concern by dropping the "and storage" from the definition, did we lose control over storage of vehicles?
Are you saying that you think that anybody and everybody can store as many vehicles as they want now?
Oh, yes, they can. If somebody living on my street does that.
Indoors perhaps, but outdoors you cannot.
What?
In primary use and secondary use, accessory use.
You talking about it in a commercial sense or on residential property?
Just in this village common district?
Well,
No, not just in the Village Common District, any
How many,
district.
what's the limited number of cars you can store
I
on
think
your
you
property?
have, I think it's 2 unregistered vehicles, is what I think it is.
I don't know off the
I
top of my
I
head.
think that's right.
I think
But-
You
it's
have 2?
2 unregistered vehicles. Now,
By zoning or by some
By-
other form of regulation?
By the selectmen's
Yeah.
Okay.
junk vehicle bylaw.
but the other half of that coin is, that I'll leave up until we're done. Okay.
Yeah, so, anyway, we're not, apparently we're not ready to address it right at this moment, just keep that on the radar. So if you could vote to refer those 3 amendments, zoning amendments to the Board of Selectmen and add them to the, and ask the selectmen to add them to the town meeting warrant.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have to officially continue hearings?
They're
we're done,
not,
right?
we're not in the hearings, we're,
Oh,
it's in discussion.
Oh, that's right. I guess we have a letter right from like Farmers Road.
Oh, yeah, Farmers Row, since the meeting was canceled,
Do we have
by
to?
agreement, we had to continue to the meeting of March 13th.
Okay.
There was
Is their request?
Yeah.
Subject.
Yeah, and I did post a notice with the town clerk that that's when it's continued to. So it should be.
Maren, I think your update for the town meeting is great.
Yeah, that's right.
Annual report and scenic road procedure.
I do have one comment.
Yep.
Like that, just has to show up, et cetera. I can write it for you.
We're good, right?
I'll add that to the next agenda.
Move to close the meeting? Did I hear that?
Second.
So moved. In favor?
Aye.
Can we stop the recording now?
Yeah, now you want to say your thing?
Thanks, Jeremy.